Hello, everyone. How you guys doing? Welcome back to the Nick Walsh TV channel. I always have to remind myself which channel we're on because there's so many these days. How you guys doing? It's a pleasure to be here. Why is my camera all messed up? Welcome back to the Nick Walsh TV channel, guys. YouTube and Twitch. We are going to do 50K challenge today. If you guys don't know what that is, basically, I set myself the challenge a couple months ago to play $50,000 worth of $10 spinning goes in the new merged player pool to see what would happen and document my progress. Now, it has been a little while since we've had a chance to do one of these, and I know I promised that I would do more updates. There's a bunch of other stuff happening at the moment that I'm trying to get on top of, but basically, I did a bunch of work with Texas Tomo, and I said to myself, I want to release some of that before I release the next update. And I haven't had a chance to do that yet, so now I've got task paralysis, and I'm struggling to get the content out. But I have found a solution. There will be some updates soon. There's going to be a lot more action over on the NWTV Instagram and TikTok and wherever the shorts go, YouTube shorts as well. And that will be a couple conversations that me and Tomo had. In short, I might actually upload the full-length video to YouTube as well, just because I think actually watching the whole thing in context was very useful and very interesting. And then I will get to the updates. But just for the sake of our purposes, I'm going to give you guys the update here at the start, and then we'll update at the end as well, like we always do. That's not unusual, but I'm going to give you guys some context. Now, before we take a look at this graph, I want to talk a little bit about how I feel. Okay. The 50K challenge has been kicking my butt, and you guys will see why in a second. I'm just running really badly. That's nothing that crazy, but it has been a bit of a trial by fire. Obviously, this new format was going to be much higher variance. Obviously, this new format was going to be a big adjustment because we're playing a higher frequency of different stack depths than the highest frequency stack depths that we played before when I was used to playing reg speeds. I have come to realize that every single chip in this game is extremely important. But also in that sense as well, when you go on runs, you can actually aggregate a lot of chip EV in short runs too when you're running okay. I have been running very poorly in lots of departments here. So number one, I'm just not winning all ins, and I'm not like whenever I actually have the best hand, I'm not winning all that stuff. That's kind of just like normal, like run bad. We'll take a look at the actual data in a second. Number two is I have been on another one of those streaks where I'm like literally making a 100% jam into a player, not even like remotely like this is GTO and it should work. Like, you know, just like we're shoving ace 8 for like 5 big blinds and they have aces like every time. I played a game the other day where I managed to get it all in against a player for the win with like ace high or king high and ran into aces 3 times in a single game. Do you know what that does to your chip EV? It's brutal. And it also damages your mental capacity as well, and your emotional state. And also, we're going on these interesting sort of journeys whereby there is clearly and it makes sense, there's a clear correlation between multipliers and obviously chip EV, because in large multipliers there's going to be literally more chips to win, so the capacity to win more is there, but then also the structure is slower, thereby you actually have more edge. Another interesting thing that I have discovered in this process is the edge between the deeper stack games and the shorter stacks games is so incredibly pronounced that I've been documenting any game that is a 10x multiplier higher, which means that it's a reg speed or higher, basically as a result of the multiplier. I don't know. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but I'm winning something insane like 60% of the 10x multipliers I play are higher. So there's a lot of moving parts here, because that means that I'm actually outperforming. I'm outperforming my opponents at an extremely high rate in the games where I'm actually given the chips to do so and given the appropriate clocks to work with, right? Which is also really interesting, and it'll sort of lead into the next thing I'm going to say. So basically, let's take a look at the graph. All right, so if you guys can't make this out, this is the important bit at the top here. This is filtered specifically for $10 games. This is filtered specifically since we started the challenge, and this is filtered specifically for the new merged format. 4,050 games played. That's 40,500 dollars gambled in $10 games. We are currently down $1,380, which is 138 buy-ins. 138 buy-ins, and we have a chip EV of 14. Now this number is actually what's breaking my back the most. You guys know that if I'm winning EV, I'm usually just kind of a happy bunny. In this game, winning and keeping EV. Thank you very much, John Edwards. Appreciate that. Winning and keeping EV in this game is actually very different from its predecessor, from the reg speeds. I had a conversation with Texas Tomo about this, and he was saying that consistency in the new format is actually seemingly more important than in previous reg speeds, because of course in the previous reg speeds you would encounter certain opponents and they would give you absolutely mountains of chips compared to what we're currently working with, and therefore these small adjustments that we make, thank you very much, Tom, appreciate it, all these small adjustments that we make are going to have a larger overall impact on our ability to have a proper chip EV. This chip EV is currently at 14. When we take a look at the graph, I'll tell you a story about this, because actually it's probably closer to 16 in reality. Thank you for the hype train, guys. Appreciate it. We have played 49,999 hands. That's actually kind of fun as well. So we've played a ton of poker here, guys, basically. And obviously we're aiming for 5K to complete the challenge, but I have a sneaking suspicion that 5,000 games isn't really going to be enough to get a proper idea of where we're at in this format just yet. So we've got more ways to go. Let's take a look at the graph, and you guys will see what's going on here. So this is our EV line. Raksha, thank you very much for the reset. Appreciate it. Mikis, thank you for the follow. So we ain't slouching, guys. We're out here. We're actually putting in volume. We're putting in volume. We've played the majority of the volume that we have off stream. You guys can see we have a very strong trend in the line that we've played here. We're going straight up here. We're doing very well. But you can see the gap between chips EV and chips 1 is significant, and actually at its worst, you could see it was about 60K to 30K. We were almost 30,000 chips under EV, which is about 100 buy-ins under expectation. I mean, it's tricky to do. I'm approximating, but it's a shit ton of EV not accounted for. Now, you guys remember I mentioned we're at a chip EV of 14, right? The chip EV is actually probably closer to 16, and I think it probably will get close to that by the time we finish the 5K games. I don't know what my actual official overall chip EV is yet, because again, like I said, we got off to a start where we were learning. We spent a significant portion of this learning, which is going to hamper our overall results, and we have to climb out of that given the fact we've used some more volume over here. However, let me give you an idea about how fickle this number is. At this point in the graph right here, we had a chip EV of 15 chips, I believe. At which point, between this point here and this point here, it has been 15, 14, and 16, and now we're back down to 14 despite actually winning additional chips after the fact. It would seem that every time we managed to get a decent run going in our EV department here, like this would have been +1 chips, this would have been +1 chips, but once we plateau, it does seem to be sticky, as it were. So every time we have these big leaps where we actually have a lot of good opportunities to acquire EV, it does seem to go up and then stick. And then if we are keeping it consistent, if we're not losing our shit, if we're not falling off a cliff and getting pissed off because we're running bad and whatever, it does seem as though once you've sort of leapt up to a certain chip EV, it does seem to plateau there. And what I will say as well is we're getting much better at flattening the times when we're just like not getting a lot of good opportunities. So our red line has improved very slightly. Our ability to play from out of position has improved greatly. And overall, as a Spin and Go player playing the new merge spins, we have improved a lot. Why is this thing broken? Okay, sorry about the chat bar there, guys. Anyway, thank you very much for the gifted sub, Tom. What's up, Zephyr? So basically, guys, long story short, this is the long update. This is basically where we're at. We are without a doubt playing very well. Thank you, H2, for the follow as well. Without a doubt, we're playing well, guys. You can see that. The only other thing I wanted to add was, like I said earlier, we are crushing the games where we have chips and we have time. which is good because that's what we've always classically been good at. So in a funny way, the new format is actually benefiting our expertise at playing reg speeds because we're winning way more of those than we should do, like way more, not just like a little bit. Now that's a relatively small sample of games overall because obviously we've only had 40, 50, I don't know, 10x's or higher, whatever it is. It might even be less than that. But it just, in those games, I just feel a lot of confidence, and that is obviously going to do very well. Now, because we're so far under EV, of course, you're going to expect that we're actually losing dollars, right? There's a lot that goes into this. If you're not winning enough chips, you're not going to win. Full stop, right? If you're not getting the right multipliers, you're not. This isn't going to go up as fast as you like when you do win the chips. Blah blah blah. That's just spin and go stuff. It's not a complaint. That's just a statement of fact. However, when this line compensates and actually gets up to here, the fact that we've performed very well in our large multipliers should put us in very good stead after rakeback. Now, let's talk a little bit about rakeback because this is obviously going to be a considerable part of the entire equation here. If I open up the Spin and Go challenge, here we go, and then I open up sessions and I open up the bonus counter. I have been keeping manual record of every single bonus that we've unlocked since we've been playing in the challenge that pertains to Spin and Goes. And you can see this is made up of these Spin Live bonuses and then also the Spin and Go, the regular chest system on PokerStars. We were in silver. We've managed to get into gold. We've unlocked 3 gold chests now. Thank you, Block. Block, why aren't you following? That's crazy. Welcome. Good to see you, buddy. So we have unlocked 3 gold chests, which means we are 2 chests away from getting the next tier of rakeback, which will further increase our edge. We are currently down about $1,400, right? Let me actually find what the number is because this is going to be relevant. In fact, is it already open somewhere? No, I guess not. Okay, cool. Let me find it for you guys. And I'll update this while I'm here as well, gang, because this is it, I think. All right, 1 sec. Let me just do this instead. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Don't do that, Nick. Oops. Okay, let's go in here. I need to open up this one, don't I? Copy. Okay, so here is the bonus tracker. And you know, obviously, if we're going to play spins, the rakeback situation is going to be very relevant to the overall thing. That's always been the case, though, right? That's not. This is not a symptom of the new game, but the new game obviously will mean that we're unlocking bonuses faster. So let me update this properly, and then we'll take a look at the overall numbers right now. Because the point I'm trying to make is, because we've been unlocking bonuses at a fair rate, and we're heading into higher rakeback territory, and we've been performing very well in our larger multipliers. When the regular games flatten out here, I do anticipate that our actual overall ROI will be reasonable, despite the fact that our actual chips EV is not particularly high. But there's a question mark as to how high that can actually be in the new game, which is part of why we're doing this entire operation here, right? All right, so we're gonna do. There's a couple ones we got to add here. This is $10. This is $50. This is $20. This is $125. I don't know why I decided to put cash here. I didn't know if maybe I was going to include other stuff, but let's get all the proper dates in. 12/11/2025, 13/11/2025, 17/11/2025, and 17/11/2025. This would have all been Spin Live promo except, oops. What the hell? This would have all been Spin Live promo except for the last one, which would be gold chests. So with that in mind, guys, and this is very relevant because, like I said, we're currently in a downswing. I don't know if you guys can make out that number there. Our total bonuses unlocked so far is $1,082.50. Very precise. I haven't skimped on any details for this challenge. Okay, so we're down. Whatever. We're down. We're down. We're down about $300. Okay, we're down about 30 buy-ins, and we already know that we are more than 30 buy-ins under expectation in chips. If we're assuming that every buy-in has an exact value, we're not talking about big bonuses or anything. So when this line decides to stop being a total asshole, and we can get this line somewhere in this vicinity of where expectation is, or even beyond. I mean, we can dream. My point is that I think that our overall ROI will actually be reasonable, at which point I do anticipate that our overall chip EV will have increased to closer to around the 19 chips per game mark. I keep banging on about this anyway, guys, but basically 22 chips per game is approximately going to be break even in spinning goes at the $10 stakes. And obviously that is not accounting for the ROI that is lost to the rake, which you then acquire back from rakeback. So, anything in that region would instantly mean that we're doing pretty well after rakeback, and you guys can see how that works, right? So even though we are in a very, 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 very bad spot, we aren't a million miles away from break even after bonuses right now, which is not, this isn't what I aspire to necessarily, but this is where we are in the challenge. And this is what we plan to work on today. So for old time's sake, I actually wanted to go back and do this kind of the old-fashioned way. I think we're going to one table on stream today. I did a bunch of study today. I've been doing some database analysis from the hands that I've played. I've been doing some work on GTO Wizard and GTO Base to try and pinpoint where I need to be putting in some more work. And if we keep following the process, I would like to finish this challenge strong and potentially even win a few buckers. So let's get into it. Hello, everybody in the chat. How you guys doing? Raksha and Tom, thank you for hanging out with us today and taking care of us as always. El Keddy, what's up? Good to see you. There's no Central today. There will be a Central tomorrow, though, on the PokerStars Central channel when we do the Spin Go Showdown. Hello, Joni. Good to see you. Hello, homie. What's up? John Edwards, thank you again for the 9-month streak. Appreciate it. Tom, Raksha, thank you for the subs as well, guys. What's up, Dean? Good to see you, mate. It has been a very busy few months, and it's not letting up. What's up, Chowser? Good to see you as well. And hello, Tebla. First time, Tebla. What's going on here? Hello, mates. All right, let's play some spins, guys. Let's play some tens. So we're just gonna one table today. We're gonna one table. We've put in a lot of volume. You guys can see I actually meant to install this on all the pages. I forgot to do it on the previous one, but tell you what, while that's broken as well, let me just fix this. Let's do that, and then let's disable our chat box for now. There we go. That looks better, doesn't it? That would have looked better during that whole spiel, wouldn't it, for clipping? But there we go. All right, so we're gonna one table today. If we're feeling inspired and we're kicking ass, like we can fire up some more. We're not gonna be a slave to it, but we're less than 1,000 games away. And at the rate that I've been playing, that I could accomplish that probably in a couple of days, depending on how motivated I felt. How switched on we were feeling. So let's get into it. If you guys have any questions or comments, get them in the chat. Keep me company. I think we're good just to bet the flop here, especially backdoor straight draw, backdoor flush draw. I am tempted to barrel twice. Nice. It would be really cute if we could just one table here and win a bunch of EV, and then and we could bump ourselves up to the next chip. Okay, interesting. Rego, limped pre, checked flop. Okay, can we get to showdown against King High? That would be nice, right? Lovely. He must have King High, Queen High. He's got 9 high. Okay, well, there we go. That's also very cool. Okay, we're not folding yet. Ooh, quick check on the flop. Now we want to be aware of the fact that they definitely found a lot of slowdown in that previous spot, just with the 9 high. So their checkbacks are going to be a lot more honest. So now if we want to be clever, let's do this. Mr. Jangles, thank you for the follow. So we want to be aware of this. Because that actually might end up being a very, very, very useful note later on. Like in spots like this, when they start leading, like they're going to have way fewer semi-bluffs, and they're just going to have way more made hands. Any value? No, I don't think so. The kind of players that aren't bluffing in that previous spot, where they had 9 high and then also where they just gave up after the ISO, I think are the kind of players that we can just assume are going to be very honest with their play. So when they check, they're just giving up. They don't have much of anything. Rather than having traps, rather than semi-bluffing, their semi-bluffs will become stronger. I would say probably a lot of checking on this board. We can just fold to the 2 lead, though. Thank you, Tom. All right. So I think probably in the 2x. Let's just get the fold in right away. Happy to play a wider range in position against this guy in particular, but in these games we have way less time to mess around. Hello, Ed K. Good to see you, buddy. Poker Joker, good to see you, mate. Yeah, this is going to be good enough to sneak in here. These leads are going to be. You got to assume the leads are going to be honest. We'll have a question mark in here. I think we're just going to run this one, guys. Wish me luck. And we want to have a min raise here as well. Min raise at 5 effective. In fact, it was 4 effective. Was Jack Jack. That's extremely important. And also, particularly good reason not to. Particularly good reason that aligns with the rest of the things that we've been sort of saying about this guy so far as well. So we want to avoid those two like the plague. But we learned the information. We got lucky. Let's get into the next one. So, yeah, I think in future, if we encounter that guy, basically just going to believe him all the time. Okay, put this one in the bin. Okay, fold that one too. But yeah, if we won table today, let's keep it locked in today. Let's get really focused. Let's just do like an old school kind of educational stream. Hopefully we'll learn something. And then in an ideal world, we'll finish the session and we'll win a bunch of EV because we're like fully focused on the one table, which should put us in good stead to finish up this challenge with a relatively high chip EV. I mean, in my mind, if we can break the curse that we've been in, where we're just like running into monsters all day, like it's kind of crazy right now. This most recent sort of, I mean, it's still going up. Like it's actually not even like a catastrophic sort of downswing in terms of EV, but like The fact that we have any upswing right now, we have any sort of upward angle in our graph is an absolute miracle and a testament to how well we're playing. Because when I have the best hand, I'm all in. I'm not winning. When I have flips, I'm all in. I'm not winning. When I get it in bad with a draw, I'm not winning. And then the number of like sessions where I'm winning a bunch of EV, and then it's like 2-pair over 2-pair, set over set, which almost never happens in this game, by the way. Running into aces 3 times in one game. I ran into aces 4 times in one 10-minute session the day before that. It's like, again, not a complaint. It's super frustrating, but it's like it's not. I'm just trying to indicate that your EV line lies in a certain fashion as well. And the only thing that sort of flattens that bit out is volume, because the spots I'm describing aren't like me like bluffing and then I'm just like getting caught. It's like spots where I'm just putting in a completely reasonable, very strong hand. I'm all in, last 8 big blinds or whatever, last 5 big blinds, last 6 big blinds, and my opponent just has it like every time. Poor Ruthie was watching over my shoulder the other day while I was complaining, and she was like, yeah, I can see what you mean. This is actually kind of crazy. And like Ruthie doesn't play that much, so she doesn't have the context for like what sickness looks like necessarily, and even she was like, this is sick. I'm like, yeah. All right, so for example, 9s, great spot. This should be a monster for us, right? Yes. That is what I'm talking about right there. Instant delivery, by the way. Thank you, PokerStars. The comedic timing. I applaud the comedic timing. Very good, very good. Excellent. Well done. Very, very good. Next game, please. All right, so Kirill's a very good reg. Thank you very much for the follow. That was GVVax. What's up? Good to see you. Against the unknown, we're going to sneak in with a very, very wide range of hands here. Our opponent's snap checking this flop is usually a good indication that we're going to have the best hand. We could even value bet a queen on the river, guys. Could you imagine that? And we got called by 7-3 offsuit. Okay, that is interesting. That's an interesting one. That is an interesting one. CFWF river bet 7 high. Kings is a good hand, chat. How do we mess this one up? How do we mess this one up, chat? How do we mess this one up? Oh my God! You guys are gonna see it firsthand today. You guys are gonna get it firsthand. You guys can actually share it with me. You can share the pain. You guys can share in the pain that I've been suffering. I have been doom switched to death. I have been doom switched to death here, guys, and I'm glad you get to see it firsthand. Mr. Jingles, the biggest I've seen is 50. I've had a 50x. Against a reg we're gonna call here, guys. Wish me luck. Yeah, this is very reasonable. These are spots that I've been doing some investigation on as well. My assumption was that the regs would play closer to the strategy that I would employ, and that is mostly true. I do think that they've actually got somewhat adjusted pre-flop ranges to be tighter in the push spots, in where they could be pushing close to Nash. That's my feeling, and actually the more work I've been doing on that, the more I've realized that I need to tighten up my calling ranges even against the regs. We're going to find a 1.5 on the turn. Looks like he just had nothing there. This is the guy that couldn't fold 7 high. So yeah, Mr. Jingles, the highest I've seen is 50x. I've had a couple 25x multipliers, and I had a 50x multiplier too, which happened on stream. That was a streamed one. That was a really frustrating one, though, because we were crushing, and we ended up going 2 pair over 2 pair. We turned 2 pair where our opponent had 2 on the flop, and it was costly, but otherwise a flawless performance. All right. Can we do it? Can we do it? Ed K says, I watched a 100x and the hundreds the other day. I rooted for Baby Federer, but it was won by the Brazilian. Yeah, Baby Federer is a Classico ultra grinder, right? Classico ultra grinder. Yeah, that's a big one as well. Whew. All right, we managed to win that one regardless of the memes. MW says, Jesus wept. Did you build this challenge over a cursed burial ground? I'm starting to think that the new flat might in fact be over a cursed burial ground. Actually, having said that, guys, you know what's really interesting? You say that, and now I've really freaked myself out. So the basement flat underneath our flat, because we're on the first floor, really nice spot. The basement flat recently went online, like listed online because they're trying to sell it. And one of the rooms, the floor is glass because it looks down over what used to be a well. So there was actually a well on this location. Maybe there's some sort of curse on the well. Maybe ace 10 will be the best hand and will hold. Uh-oh, we've named the curse now. Have we freed ourselves? But yes, it's been tough. It's been tough. I feel like it's taken a lot of strength to hold it together. But I think that we've become much better spin and go players and just better poker players in general since we've done this challenge. Our heads up heads up has always been a big focus for me, right? Because I've always been a heads up player or a spin and go player, which involves a lot of heads up. Being forced to learn how to play the ultra shallow heads ups better has been eye opening, and there were spots I was definitely not necessarily getting wrong, but I wasn't playing them optimally. And I've been really like grinding those sims, those studies, and the game has improved a ton for sure. I do believe that our actual true chip EV is at least 16 chips per game, if not higher. If I filter for the more recent weeks that we've played, it would indicate that our actual overall chip EV, not including the early sort of learning stages, is significantly higher than it currently is. So if we go from let's say we go from the 1st of the 9th or something. 0109. Yeah. Yeah, so if I filter from October, November, December, if I filter from October, our overall chip EV is 17 chips per game, which is getting much closer to like a respectable level. So, that would make sense, right? Those things add up, right? Like if we include our entire sample from the very start where we were still learning and like, obviously we weren't winning as many chips in the new format, we're at about 15. I'd say we're just on the cusp of 15. If we look at since we've been studying, since we've actually been practicing, we're at 17. So story checks out, I think. But we're getting there, guys. We're getting there. I like to imagine that I can get close to 22, but I'm not sure. I've been talking to a lot of people in the pools, and they are very quick to tell me that nobody in their pool has higher than 19, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, well, I prefer to try and not limit myself, but I know that there will be a limit to what's possible, given the current conditions. I need a young priest and an old priest. Mr. Jingles, I just have the regular program. So I have the normal PokerStars Rakeback program. So what is it called? PokerStars Rewards. So I'm currently on gold chests. I'm 2 chests away from black, which I think is the next highest. PokerFuse has a good... Oh, the PokerFuse website's down as well. Oh, dear. All right, push this one. This is pretty straightforward. Yeah, so we're currently on gold. The next one is diamond, sorry. So we're currently getting 25% rake back. And then in 2 chest time, we'll be on 30. And then black will be 40. And then above that is select plus, all that kind of jazz. I think at the 10s, with the frequency that I play, I would never hit select or select plus. But if we do a continuation of this challenge in the future, I'll play higher stakes. And then obviously, like once we're at 25s and 50s, I think hitting those targets is pretty reasonable. Especially when we're looking at the course of the entire year, right? So, I did this challenge since the January, February, March, April, May, June. I started this challenge like mid-June. In fact, maybe a little bit after. So if we were to start this in 2026 at the very start of the year, we could hit some pretty like huge targets and potentially not run like we're wearing lead boots in a lake. All right. King of the 5, king of the 5, king of the castle. King of the castle. All right, this is just going to be a push against a more passive player. I actually would love to play this as a limp at the stack depth, but when we're in the 2x multipliers, the one thing I've realized is we need to play a lot faster. Like for example, I don't think I'm going to fold if he pushes here. Jack 7 suited is technically going to be a Nash call anyway, so we're not like breaking the theoretical rules, but I also anticipate most players aren't going to shove as wide as they need to. But we can't really give up the EV. As soon as we get to 4x or 5x, like we can definitely afford to slow down in those spots a lot more aggressively. But otherwise we're just going to take like the profitable pushes. Jack 10's the correct call here, by the way. Anything but a queen. All right. Okay. Okay. I accept, sir. Thank you very much. Also, shout out to YouTube as well. Sorry, I forgot to open up the YouTube comment section today. Acapulco is grinding 24/7, mate. My channel. Getting called by Ace 5 is lovely here. No trade. I do not like that. Chat. It does actually feel so much better to do this with you guys online though. When I'm on my own, like I've really sincerely started to get used to the feeling of just not winning all-ins. I just have no actual faith that that the best hand will hold up at the moment. But what I can tell you is sharing it with you guys actually makes me feel miles better. Because you guys can tell me if I'm just being a baby or if I'm if there is actually an anomaly happening here. All right, let's put in a little raise here. We're going to call a shove here if we need to. Otherwise, we're going to play a nice suited ace in position. Yeah, I don't see why we wouldn't just start small. Very effective, tiny c-bet strategy there. Works great. Also against the unknown player. King Tray is a hand we probably are supposed to play there. I'm trying to play fewer marginal spots against regs, though. Don't tell them that, though. Whatever you do, don't. Just between us, guys. Just between us. Don't tell the regs. Yeah, I did a bunch of work on post-flop. Like, I think at this point, the majority of my pre-flop is going to be very good. I think when I filter for pre-flop, my GTO Wizard score was like 89% or something. So I'm definitely, I mean, that's the bit I probably should be good at this stage in my career, right? Should actually have some skills in that department. Commentators cursed myself. That's true. That might have been my fault, Tibla. But yeah, once you filter away the pre-flop, though, I think the majority of the quote-unquote mistakes, because there's very few blunders, is post-flop sizing. I would say that my post-flop sizing is in position in single raise pots and limp pots is going to be fine and will perform very well, but not technically strictly GTO at all times, which is probably for the better, generally speaking. However, my strategy from out of position is one that I need to work on because I've started isolating more aggressively versus limps, and I'm using different sizes. I'm using dynamic sizing. And under those circumstances, my post flop needs a lot of work, not just in sizing, but also like in frequency as well. What's up, Steven? Good to see you, buddy. All right. This should be a very good spot. Okay. Okay. Okay, best hand wins. Nice. And JPM, you will come to fear me, my friend. You are now in the Thunderdome, and I got you right where I want you. Baby, don't fear the Reaper. All right. If he checks the turn, we're going to bluff this river now. Tried to get him off the chop. Man was too sticky. Oh, okay. We like this. How many outs do you want? How many outs do you want, chat? We're gonna call it. If you bet small again, we'll bluff the river. Oh man, this actually might be the worst run out for our hand specifically. We really want him to have 6-7 of spades. Oh, we can't have that. 5-6 of spades. Nice. We managed to get away from the catastrophic river anyway. But yeah, if it doesn't come literally the worst card in the deck and we miss every single draw, even though we've got 1,000,000% equity, and he bets one, we can probably turn a hand to a bluff some of the time, especially if it's a more coordinated river. Okay, cool. So we got to make some notes here. This guy is definitely playing an unusual strat. We're going to play 100% of the deck if he's not going to bet there too as well. So 4 deuce is usually going to be a fold here. Heads up, it's at the very bottom of our range. Min, donk, 3 streets, LP was middle pair, shit kicker. Passive pre exclamation mark. All right, let's try this again. Basically, if he's not leading, he's not going to have a hand is what he's trying to get at here. This one's going to be a large ISO 2, 4.5, 12. Let's just go for the 4.75. At cases, are you only using GTO Wiz for post-flop strats or anything else? Primarily GTO Wiz. I've got the tier down from Elite. I use GTO base for the same thing though, Ed. Against this guy, we're going to size up flop here. We're going to really try and punish the 9 and the 5. It's unbalanced. We wouldn't do that against an unknown or against a reg, but I'm okay with this. Nice. Yeah, for pre-flop Ed, I'm doing NWTV charts pre-flop pack. That's going to have pretty much all the same stuff. In my opinion, actually slightly better. Yeah, okay, cool. Against this player at this stack depth, actually, we're going to find a check. And again. I might actually bluff this river now. No, this is a really good hand to bluff with, but also, if we have him down as somebody that's playing pretty honestly, I don't think we want to try and bluff river. We can probably get away with this, though. Oh, nice. Did have the trap in the ends. GG, mate. He earned that one. That was good. All right, let's go back and take a look at these really quick. But yeah, Ed, I'm using, when I'm looking at the overall trends, I'm using the NWTV chart pack for pre-flop, just because that's my preferred pre-flop source. And also, I think that it's easier with the NWTV pre-flop to sort of look at the trend as it changes in stack depth. So what I'll do is, when I'm studying, I'll open up, if I'm trying to work out what we're doing in a particular position as we get shallower, I'll open up like, 15 effective, and then I'll use the left from right arrows to go 13, 12, 11, 10. And that's actually, in my opinion, like a much faster way to do it than with GTO Wiz, where you have to load every single one and then have them all in tabs or whatever, which is probably still the fastest way to do that anyway when you're using that program. But for the post flop, yes, almost all GTO Wiz. So the ace-10 spot, this one's really interesting because I do think that there is an opportunity, but also if we have him down as somebody that's going to play pretty honestly, I don't think that this, like, trying to bluff a river here where we haven't really repped much on a previous street is a dangerous prospect, because prior to now, like, he's been very willing to, like, min bet when he's sort of blocker betting. If he's betting full pot on this river, I think he has improved in a fairly significant way, because if that's how he was treating the jack in that previous spot where we missed like the monster draw, which is pretty unlucky for us, for him to suddenly have a size up here is going to be a lot less bluff heavy for this customer. If we were playing against an unknown, against a reg, there's a chance that becomes a lot better though, I think. Good trap with the ochos though, fair play. Cool, we played with this guy just a second ago. Yeah, it's okay, Tom. The shove with the queen seven is on the wide side, but it's actually not even that far from like what GTO would be anyway. So I'm not too worried about that one. I think that one's fine. Not this time. Like, at that stack depth, we are. This is better here. This one. At that stack depth, we're better off. We're shoving queen deuce, queen three, queen four off. So I'm just like widening up the queen shove there. Nice run out for us here. I'm just going to widen up the queen shove against the unknown, who presumably is going to be a lot less balanced. All right, so check this one. At cases, I have the pre-flop charts, and at the $3 and $5 levels, other players are making enough mistakes, but I think that I might need to be better in other areas if you want to move up. 100%, yeah. I mean, even the tens right now, Ed, I'm encountering a lot of really good players, like very, very good players. And then also kind of people that I was thinking to myself, I recognize these guys from higher stakes. And, sure enough, I think probably we can get away with this one. I'm going to look this one up in a sec, guys, but I'm pretty sure the limit call is GTO. Limit call at 11. That's got to be right. That's got to be correct. Now, the question mark is whether or not we should do it against this guy, but in the 2x multiplier, again, I'm just going to be way more happy. I'm going to be way happier just running those spots, I think. All right. Yeah, we'll just do this one as well. All right, I'll mark that one for review so we can look it up, but I'm pretty sure the limp call is correct with the king 8 suited. And mark that, mark hand. Nice, we got another one in there from a while back as well. 1 month ago, we can look that one up too. But yeah, I think the pre-flop is obviously a massive deal, Ed, but I think the post-flop is super important too. But the new game is so tricky, mate. It's so tricky. The new format requires you to be very precise and incredibly aggressive. All right, so I do think maybe this guy is in reg territory based on what we've seen. I mean, the fact that he has an ISO fold there is definitely somewhat telling. Queen 9 shove is good here as well. Apparently, I've played some hands with this guy too, so maybe this is a player that's just gone unlabeled, or maybe it's like maybe they've changed their picture and I just don't recognize the name or something. Cool, good game for us. Next one, please. All right, 4x multiplier, 1 reg. I don't recognize Jameson, I don't think. Let's see if we can make it work. What? I think that was a good one, guys. When I said, let's see if we can make it work, it's not quite what I had in mind, but okay. See if we can make this one work now. My goodness me. That was a nice spot. That one's going to look good on the EV. If we can clean this one up now, this is going to be a good game for the graph. Could I get a clip of that one, please, Tom? My goodness me. All right, let's see how the river goes. Can we just get ace high, king high to check back on this river? I mean, is this ever a bluff is the problem. Halucha says, just loaded up PokerStars and my first spin was a 25x and I got first. Was pretty sick. Nice. That's really sick, man. Well done. That's very cool. Not as sick as flopping quads, though, huh? Collapse skill game for sure, huh? Ah, this is a fun one, guys. We get to do something cool here. 4.5 works. This is one of the fun big ISOs. Get to do that with the absolute trash at the bottom. Trapping ace queen suited like a boss. Could this be the greatest game ever? Could this end up being the greatest game we've ever played? $11 effective. Yeah, this will be a push for a limp. Cool. 9-7, still in range. And this one will be small ISO. Technically against the reg we're supposed to call here. Okay, wish me luck. We did just label him. King Deuce Jack. Okay, I'm gonna maybe reconsider this label. I don't know if we're ripping King Deuce offsuit here pre-flop. That was it's actually closer to 12 big blinds. The Jack 10 suited is the correct call, right? Like, don't get me wrong, that's not a mistake just because he has a better hand. I don't think we're shoving King Deuce off according to GTO. I think that's too wide. Okay, we're gonna do this. Shove 12 effective. Was King Deuce off? Now maybe that's just some big exploit because they know I'm a whale or whatever, but don't know. Let me write down. One second, I'm gonna open this up first really quick, guys. I have my pre-flop sizing cheat sheet. 13. Okay. I was just looking up the sizing because we ISO'd to 3 big blinds at 13 big blinds effective or deeper heads up, and then we go to 2.5 as standard. Thank you, Jakers. I think 12 is an interesting one. If we're looking at the pure GTO, that might be an interesting one to actually do some analysis on here. Let's go ahead and mark the Jack 10 suited spot. I want to do some after stream investigation. I was watching a really good video from one of the guys. It's Baldarian from Team Boss, and Team Boss did some work with GTO Wiz, and he showed off this part of the tool that was like equity comparison or like line comparison, or I can't remember what the exact number is, like strategy comparison. And basically, it gives you the breakdown of the strategy, and then it gives you the opportunity to compare the equity of different lines. So let's say that you're in a situation and GTO strategy says that you should be pushing, some part of like the weakest part of your range. It'll almost always opt to push anything that has a higher EV than, A and B and C if there's 3 options. But if you feel like it's a spot where, you're kind of running into a lot of hands, you can basically assess as whether or not you can turn it into a limp without losing too much EV and changing your strategy like against that opponent. If you're playing against an opponent that does not attack limps, for example, you can limp a lot more aggressively heads up rather than being forced to push all the hands that become, I'm pushing this because I don't want to be exploitable, blah, blah, blah. Great, man. Thank you very much for the follow, by the way. Reg v. Reg, I think we need to call here. Wish me luck. Yeah. Oh, spades would be a lovely treat. Spades would be a lovely treat there. Fishmonger Poker, thank you for the follow as well. Good to see you. Yeah, in a 2x multiplier against the reg, we're just gonna follow the Nash rules. We're not gonna be too afraid to gamble there because it just becomes very difficult to justify doing anything else really in a spot that is probably just very, very straightforward call. And hopefully we'll have chipstick battle with later on. Ed K says, yes, the 2Xs are crazy. What do you think a good ROI or chip EV is for the 2Xs? Anything above break even? So I haven't done a breakdown of just for 2Xs, Ed, but I think a chip EV of 22 chips per game, I think at the 10s, an average chip EV of 22 gets you close to break even, which means you're going to be doing well after rake back in the context of spins anyway. That was the very bottom of the range, right? Sorry, I glanced away. 6 tray. Yeah, we might have missed a call there. It was going to be close anyway, but that might have been a gamba. Yeah, we should get called by any 2 cards here, which is also nice. Cool. Okay, back up to around 4 bigs. Yeah, I've not done a breakdown for the specific multipliers apart from anything higher than a 10x, like I said, Ed. I think you might have joined a bit later on, but basically I've been mapping all of the games that are 10x multiplier or higher, Ed, so I know like how I'm performing in the classically reg speed or better games. Yeah, ace queen versus ace 5. That's fun. That's a fun one. That one's enjoyable. That was fun. I don't know either of these guys actually. This should be a good game for us. It's a 3x though, not as much opportunity to flex when we start with so few bigs. Let's try and get through these hands a bit faster here. Come on, bruv, hurry up. Hurry up. All right, if you're trying to snipe me, it's not going to work, bro. Lib bluff on the flop. Nice. That's a good start. And let that one go. Yo, Sphinx, thank you very much for the follow. How you doing? Welcome to the stream. So far, so good, guys. Graph is going in the right direction. We're cheating. We're not supposed to be looking. Oh, okay. We're going to go Busto with this one. Yeah, I don't think we're allowed to fold here. Wish me luck, guys. The 3x steal could be strength here, obviously, but, you know, there's enough of this happening. We definitely want to make a note of this, though, for sure. Do not chop this fucking pot. Oh, my God. All right, so this is a super important note because this will become a thing that we can look out for in future as well. Definitely not something that I advocate for. 3x open raise button multi-way 11 effective was king 9 off. The queen 10 is almost definitely going to be a push here. Let me just double check the. Let me mark that one for review. It's an awkward one to guesstimate because that's a spot where with the uneven stacks it changes things a lot, right? When there's a player who's shorter in the big blind and a player who's slightly deeper in the small, we get away with pushing more of our Broadway like that, and I think that's probably going to be approved, but we'll check it out in a sec. My HUD separates out the 2x spins as the ultras. Oh, really? I haven't had any 10x to see if they're different. Yo, thank you very much, Banktra. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. I'm going to mark that one for review as well. I'm pretty sure we shoved the suited king there. Where were we at, like 8 or 9 effective? Mark and gonna have lots of hands to look over today. I wanna do a nice big study session at the end of today's stream. Yeah, this is definitely a push. 2 live cards is fine. 6 is nice. Gone. Win some all-ins, Nick. That's what we like. That is what we like. All right, heads up against this guy. We're going to sneak in a lot of traps, right? His sizings are very large so far. He's been very aggressive on the larger side, so we want to try and give him the opportunity to put the chips in for us here. Backdoor spade draw is nice. Oh, man, that feels good. Nice. We managed to get a little value at the end. Calls us here with a pair of 5s, so good sizing on the river. Still did get paid by that combo. And now let's take a flop with the JT. We will check raise this board with the jack kicker. Yeah, let's just go ahead and make this like this. And we're going to shove the turn. Wish me luck. Nice pickup. 10-7. We can push this profitably. In the 3x multiplier, I'm going to find more limps, though, against this player. Let's start with a check. And then we'll probably find a delayed bet here. We're going to do it so we can shove the river because we want to try and get the 5x, 3x to fold quite often on the river. So we want enough ammunition for us to try and get those to folds. And, of course, ace-3 is going to be in the middle here no matter what. Ace-9, again. This stack depth probably more important to push and just deny equity than anything else. The trap isn't nearly as valuable as the push here at this ultra-short stack depth. King, queen, obviously going nuts no matter what. Come on, chat. 300 pennies. Or is it 3,000 pennies? 3,000 pennies. Good game. Nice. Well executed there. Two regs. This one is almost all push. Sorry, all steal. And I think probably we're going to do something like Eddie's. It's a good experiment, though, Ed. I might have to try and see if I can filter them out. I think, of course I can. Yeah, no, I need to filter them specifically just for the I just need to filter specifically for the number of chips in play. Not this one. I need to filter out. If I filter specifically for the number of chips, I can do that as well. I don't know why I'm being stupid. King, queen, max pressure. Jowzera says asymmetric solutions are insane sometimes. Yeah, exactly, mate. It's wacky. Shout out to Jowzera as well, by the way, guys. Jowzera is grinding the tens at least some of the time. I don't know if you're playing higher as well, Zhao. I imagine you might be. Um, but yeah, a fellow spin grinder, very very solid spin and go player. Solid's probably not even doing him justice. Very good player. Not somebody I enjoy playing poker against at all. I'm sure we would have a great time at a cash table live somewhere, Zhao, but otherwise, get off my tables, mate. Get out of here. Epic Fails, what's up? Good to see you, Mr. Swain. Hello. What's up, guys? Sorry I didn't spot you over there. I got too many windows open here. Can we make the $30 work for us here? This will be a push blind v blind if it gets a fold. KLX. Nope. Nope. Perfect. KLX. Yeah, let's just start betting. KLX is also a good player. KLX also a good grinder. Right. Okay. Yes. Against perceived reg, I think we still limp call. He's checking. All right, let's try and do something here, guys. I'm going to do 2.2. Let's see if we can play ace as well. This is the guy that shoved way wide before, right? We were 12 effective and he shoved king deuce off. That would be fun, Zhao. Let me know if you ever come to one, buddy. We can hang out. All right. Put him in the coffin. Let's go. Let's put this one to bed. Me so. All right, let's try and give it one of these. And then we will push the river here if we need to. I'm going to commit the rest now, guys. Wish me luck. We're blocking his straights. He shouldn't have an ace or a queen that often, so it does feel appropriate. Yeah, boy. El Triplero. Pocket sevens to finish the day. Come on now. Just give him the old 86%. Just 86%. Let's go, guys. That's more like it. I would argue that that was a particularly good one for us. I mean, it's not as good as flopping quads and getting it in against deuces. That was a good one. That was a particularly spicy one. Sorry, Chad, I forgot to turn the music on. All right. Feels good to just do a little one table and chat. Feels pretty good. Especially when we're cruising. Especially when we cruising. Got that for show. I got that for show. Nice one. Thank you for the clip, Tom. All right, we're going to find a little trapper with the ace-queen suited. Go on, put your chips in. This guy's name. Chipipi. Okay. Should we come out blasting? We're not folding. Oh, we're beating straight draws still. We're beating straight draws. I mean, come on now, chat. How could we possibly fold? Could this just be a jack? Maybe. Do I think it's an 8 or a 5? Probably not. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Fair is fair. We're going to make a note of the lead with the jack, though, because that's pretty unusual. LP, donk, small, twice on jack 8-5 was jack X. Okay, nice hand. Next game. Yeah, it's a funny one, that one. I think our hand's too strong, though. Like I said, it just doesn't feel like it's ever an 8 or a 5, and a lot of people will never lead their top pair in that spot, so it's just like, whatever. If we run into it, we'll make a note, and we'll move on with our lives. All right, are we calling with 4s here? I think probably this is going to be close, but... Nice. Running into queens feels good. Oh! Cracking queens feels better. This is a push though versus limp. I'm almost positive. We'll mark this one for review too, but a lot of our smallest suited connectors there are just going to go in that category. No, you can't fold. They're not going to fold ace nine. No, that's a monster there, Tom. I thought I was getting the get out of jail free card. We'll mark that one for review too, guys, but I'm pretty much 100% sure that's a push. Say pretty much 100%. Am I allowed to fold yet? No. What are we doing on the turn? Cool. Queen 9, we're going to limp. If they push, we're going to call, though, reg v reg. Against this move, where are we at? This is still a call. We're going to call this as well. This is going to be a lot of stuff that's completely brick this board. When we have the queen in our hand, it makes it less likely it's king-queen suited. And then we might be able to get away with something like this. I kind of want a hero call, to be honest. I feel like this could still be spades. I feel like this could also still be hands like 5, 6, or 7, 5, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 6, 7 would actually make a lot of sense here. Can we get the hero call of this entry? Nice. Pocket queens. GG. It's an interesting angle to take with the queens. And I wonder if perhaps there is something in the sizing that I use here that gives them the constant confidence to push. I think this is how we play a king as well still. The hero call is obviously theatrics, to be honest, guys, but these players are these guys are really, really fucking good, and they will turn up with those hands a fair amount. So the push here is interesting. So let's think about the all-in from the queens. The anticipation perhaps here is that a lot of our king X might have been in pre-flop. So if we have a decent king that's limping here, a lot of times we'll probably just end up pushing versus the ISO. I'd say technically speaking, we're still going to limp call with a fair number of our decent king X here, but again, I don't know from a theory perspective how good that is. Once we arrive here, if we think about this from a range perspective, our opponent can have like the entire deck here. Like, let's not get it twisted. King Trey, like I said, we're blocking king queen, which is going to be somewhat relevant here. We are unblocking spades on the turn to make our hero call. But our opponent's ISO range here is going to contain all kinds of junk, right? So the float versus the small continuation bet here, I think, is very cool. I think I'm gonna feel good about doing this most of the time. Not only because we can turn our hand into a bluff if we want, but also because queen high will just have showdown. So there's another question mark on the turn then, I guess, in that case, right? Once we arrive here, do we necessarily want to turn queen 9 into a bluff at all? If we think that we're beating all of his junk, do we want to try and potentially get check raise bluffed, right? So then this kind of is starting to look a little bit more like the bet call on the turn is not as ridiculous as we might think, right? There's another argument that if he has the flush draw, he might just bet flop and then just shove turn. But I think that probably a lot of good players aren't going to do that because they're concerned that we might have a king, right? So like, we're not going to fold a king. We're not going to fold a 3. So the shove maybe isn't nearly as valuable. We're not going to have ace highs that you're pushing out because our ace highs are either going to fold or go all in pre-flop, mostly go all in. So when you really start to break it down, this is actually a super cool spot for him to play. Like, if he thinks that we're going to be doing some nonsense, which is exactly what we're doing, let's say he has a hand like ace 5 of spades or ace, maybe ace 5 of spades might just shove turn as well, but let's say he just has ace 5 of diamonds, right? He's got a gut shot. We've played our hand in a way that's obviously given him some sort of suspicion. I do think that there is something to this here. Is this how we would play a king if we're being completely honest with ourselves? I think so. I mean, for this exact reason, right? Like, we want to bet like this so that the queens and the jacks and the 10s and the 9s and the 8s and the 7s and the flush draws sometimes check raise and the straight draws sometimes check raise. Like, let's say that they ISO with 5-6 or 6-7. Like, this feels like a really good spot to have a move, because he's doing it in a way where we might actually consider folding some of our weakest flush draws. We might end up folding some of our ace highs. We might fold some of our queen highs. Overall, I know this looks stupid when we play our hand and he's got queens, but I think against a thinking player, actually, this has a lot of merit. What I would be interested to see is what's the split here, because in order for him to make this move, he doesn't even necessarily have to have a draw. Like, we're describing hands that, you know, I think 5-6 is probably 5-6 or 6-7 are going to be good components here, because they're the kind of hands that would probably always c-bet this board, but then feel not so confident to continue, but then they've kind of worked their way into a spot where they feel like now they can suddenly make a move. I would say the flush draws will be in there, but mostly it's going to be the weakest stuff. Technically speaking, a lot of his suited hands with spades are not going to want to ISO, but then actually a lot of the stuff that does is the weakest kind of it. So I don't know, actually, the more that I think about this, the more this is interesting. Like, 5 deuce of spades is probably supposed to ISO versus limp a decent, like a 10% of the time or something like that. That becomes a combo draw on the turn that might just want to try and get to a cheap showdown, but then decides to check shove to try and get hands just like this to fold. So all in all, we end up probably against a decent number of combos that will check shove. Now, if this was anybody other than Breastcore, if this was some random who we don't have labeled, who we never played with, excuse me. If this was a random, this is just completely ridiculous. We would never be in this pot. Like, we might not even be in the spot floating the flop, maybe, but not against, you know, random as often. We probably wouldn't feel the need to bet the turn as aggressively. We probably would always just bet fold the turn. Against a reg, though, when you really break this down, I think that there is a reasonable amount of intent for us to bet call. Anyway, next game. Next game. He's never going to be semi-bluffing with a better hand there, right? He's shoving for value, or he's shoving his bluff, basically. What's up, Zintex? McNeil says one tabling is the way to go. It's all my brain can keep up with. I think it is better for like, you know, stream. If we're trying to make something that's somewhat educational, I think it's the only way to go. If we're trying to do a challenge, we fire more, but then obviously there's less interaction with the chat and stuff too. Joe says 6-4 suited is a pure check back at 12 frequency-wise, but it is indifferent EV-wise. He will have trip advantage there for sure. That's a good point too. That's a very good point, Joe. What was the combo? I think I was saying 5 deuce suited, Joe, not 6-4, but yeah, I agree with what you're saying. It's an interesting one, though. Hello, Curtis Lambert. Good to see you, buddy. I meant to message you this morning. I was going to send you something stupid. Zintic says, I go higher if I had a King X, like 50% at least. 1.3 seems like a weak pro bet. I don't think that's the case, though. I think that's probably a pretty big misinterpretation. because it's not like we're betting 1.3 out of context. It's an ISO pot. The board is extremely dry. Your opponent has c-bet and then bet small. Betting 1.3 on that turn, I mean, in the context of the SPR, makes perfect sense, right? And if the idea is that we are trying to still entice in ace highs to continue and the pairs underneath the queens, like if he's shoving queens there and that's the same intention that's the same way we play a king, it's like genius, right? It's like what I'm saying is like betting 1.3 into a big pot like that has different complexions, right? It's like in the context of an ISO pot where there's been a c-bet and a float, betting really small can be uber strong. If that was like our c-bet size, in like, deeper stack pots, if that was our standard c-bet size, that would be definitely something that would be an issue. It would be very weak. Josh says good analysis. Thanks, mate. Yeah, it's always a funny one when you're on stream and you're covering those spots, right? Because yeah, it's I think there's probably, I guess the next question along is, are we supposed to be shoving queens on that turn? Now, Breastcore knows this. Breastcore is a friend of the stream. Breastcore has watched me play poker. Breastcore is going to be aware of like, some of the patterns of behavior that I have. Let's just push. Nice. Getting called by worse here is cool. Any holds? Lovely. If you think that, I don't know, it's weird though, isn't it? Like if we do have a king or I think we probably bet both. It's tricky because when you're on, whenever these things happen, you get called. You want to start like bringing up lots of different. You want to try and make a compelling case for the fact that you're like, this makes sense. But I think, in all honesty, I think I play my hand exactly the same way. If I do actually have the hand, if I have a king or I have trips or whatever. Are you supposed to rip queens there? I mean, like, I guess what you're trying to do is deny the spades. Spades would play the same way too, because you're also trying to maybe potentially get some stronger hands to fold if you have like a relatively low flush draw. I tell you what, let's just mark it for review. Let's take a look at the GTO of it. I wouldn't be surprised if GTO. No, surely not. Anyway, let's just mark it and let's take a look later. We had Queen Nine of Diamonds, right? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Copy. So, just thinking about it from like the computer's perspective, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes limp, raise, call. C-bet small, call, check, check. I bet you the computer wants us to check the turn. But we'll take a look in GTO Wiz when we're done, guys, when we can close up PokerStars properly. Yeah, it's an interesting spot, though. I mean, like, if our opponent has a read on the way that we play and they anticipate that we're actually going to be, like, overfloating, then, like, check jamming that turn is just super good as well, right? With, like, with no hand, with, like, no draw. In the 3x against the unknown. Let's do this. Ace-X will continue calling, but don't you want to get folds from weak holdings, Ace-X and short sorts? Maybe I'm thinking wrong. I mean, we can still get folds from those, but the point is that we're setting ourselves up for another move on the river as well, right? So what we're doing is we're targeting hands that are no hand, because like I said, when he this is why I think the computer will probably end up checking the turn. I think computer will float flop check turn. There's a chance it just folds flop, but I'm pretty sure it won't. We're not folding yet. It's gonna go check check. 9 wins. Boom. Yeah, we'll look it up. We'll take a proper look. The more that we talk about it, the more I think probably we're supposed to just check turn. Float, flop, check turn. Yeah, but it's so basically Syntax, it's a balance, right? Because if we want to believably represent strength, then we need to play our hand in the same way we would if we had strength, which is to keep ace X in. You don't want ace X to fold, right? Like if we have a king or trips, we don't want ace X to fold, but we're also playing in a way where we're going to get hands with equity or potentially even better hands to fold for the same size. McNeil says, asking for advice from this lovely group of people. I've been lucky and I stress lucky enough to have won a silver pass on PokerStars. Is it better to use it to buy a bundle of online tickets or to go to one of these live in-person events and have a nice weekend away? By no means am I a good poker player. It's completely up to you, McNeil. It's like whatever you think is going to be the best use of your time and your money. Depending on what bundle you buy and what stakes you play, you might have a better shot to win a live event, like one big live event, than to, potentially, I keep saying, sorry. You might be better off playing a live event, basically is what I'm saying, because I think that the experience of going to a proper PokerStars event and the organization that they do and like everything about it is just so good. And, I would say that the fields in live tournaments for the higher stakes are actually going to be significantly softer than they are online. For example, if you had a bundle for $1,000 and you broke it up into lots of smaller pieces, that might be a good way to spend it compared to having one big piece in a big tournament online where the standard is going to be very high. Whereas if you go and play one big live event live, a lot of the players there aren't going to be particularly good. You're going to have a good shot to win a bunch of money. And also you're going to have the experience and the trip to go with it as well. If you feel like perhaps you're not the strongest poker player, I think maybe experiencing the live thing is just going to be a better life choice. That's my take on it. I know a lot of people who have qualified and they're not particularly, incredible poker players, but they've come away from live events like that was just such a good experience. I had so much fun. That was just even if they didn't win, they still felt like they won because it was such a fun event. We're not folding ace 10 here. We're at about 11. This is going to be fine. Against this player who we don't know, we're actually going to sneak this in as a limp instead. Nice playable hand in position. See if we can make this one work. Curtis. I just checked the Queen 9 suited hand wizard, and it told me to uninstall stars and never play again. Perfect, thank you. That is what we're looking for, mate. Perfect. Oh, mate. Oh, that's a nice flop. Can we get some action, please? I mean, a fold here would be really good, but we'll take the flip if we need to. 62%! What do we call that? 62%. We're going to try and do that in position thing again, huh? Going to try and do that in position thing. Dandu is asking about the qualification rounds. Basically, all you have to do is play Spin Goes and then check up on the leaderboard. And then at some point, if you qualify for the sort of qualification game or you've made it to the top of the leaderboard, it should just be in your in the tab rewards tab. So if you win a ticket into the game to qualify for the event, then you can just go and it should just be in your actual tournament tickets folder. Alternatively, if you have got to the very, very top of the leaderboard through points, then you should definitely already know that because you would have been contacted probably by Stars or something, but should also be the same thing. Nice trap with 9s here. King Deuce is 100% push versus limp though, so it is what it is. We're running into the hand. Still a good push, and on to the next game. I understand your point, which totally makes sense, but top pair is vulnerable on a fairly connected board. Connected board? Connected? Are we talking about the same hand? It was King King 4-4 with a flush draw. That's not connected. And also, it's not really that vulnerable. If we have top pair, we're only going to lose to an ace, right? I mean, the kinds of hands that outdraw us on that texture are ace X, and we already said that, if some of the flush draws are going to probably end up just playing their hand more aggressively anyway. No, I hear what you're saying, but I think that this is a particular context which needs to be reconsidered. Like, if we're trying to make flush draws if we're trying to get flush draws to fold, if we're trying to get max value from flush draws, then I agree with you. We need to have a much larger size. But in this case, in the context of an ISO pot, in the context of a C-bet, and then they've checked the turn, I think the actual danger to top pair there is incredibly, incredibly low. We're not vulnerable in the slightest. And also, we're playing our hand in a way which is going to keep in the weakest parts of their range, which is good for us, right? I think maybe that's where the disconnect is. A lot of times people think that when we bet, we're trying to we're trying to force hands to fold. Like, we don't want ace high to get there. We don't want flush draws to get there. Like, that's true, of course, but that's just a case of trying to get as much value from those hands as we can. But in the context of that hand and that pot, I think that it's probably true to say that we want as much action as possible with one card to come because we're not vulnerable. I don't know. It makes sense. Again, we'll take a look at it in a sec. I think probably with the benefit of hindsight, I think we're probably supposed to float, flop, check, turn. I think that's almost definitely going to be what the computer does. But we'll take a look at the end of stream today. Can a 4? I appreciate your feedback, those in text. I like discussing these spots. McNeil says that's awesome advice, Nick. I'm going to go for the weekend away with my wife. Mate, go and enjoy it. That'll be so much fun. McNeil says the only downside is that I live in Brighton. Do we know each other, McNeil? Is this a meme? You know I live in Brighton, right? All of the destinations are a downgrade. Are you trolling me, McNeil? You know I live in Brighton, right? Against the reg, we're supposed to call this one, I think. Diamonds are forever. I'll take a diamond. All right, cool. Next game. Do you know if PokerStars are considering reverting sit and go, spinning goes back to their original blind levels? Nope, I'm not part of that conversation. I have sort of stated my piece. When I say I'm not part of that conversation, that's not true. I have stated my piece about my feelings on the topic. I feel very strongly that there is a happy medium between the changes made and also between what I think would be more fun. Which is an important distinction to make, right? Because I think the tricky thing is whenever these kinds of changes are made, often people's response to it is in direct relation to like how they benefit from, you know, the previous or the, you know, the former or the latter changes. I sincerely think that spin and goes are simply more fun when they are played slightly deeper stack. Doesn't have to be a lot, just a little bit. Oh, I really don't want to fold this hand. Now, there's an argument that technically he should have very few ace combos in his hand, in his range here from the small blind. Something that even more inexperienced players kind of adhere to. So he is going to end up having just bluffs here. He's going to have diamond draws here quite often. I think probably in the grand scheme of things, people who call with aces also don't lead them that often, but we're going to call, and if he has an ace, we're going to like know for future, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is like Jack 10 of diamonds or 8 9 of diamonds or something like that. Or it's just complete error. That also works. Or it is just absolute nonsense. That is also a component. All right, so this is one of the big ISOs. Sorry, guys. Try and get there quick. I do, hence the joke. Okay, cool. All right, and we're going to start like... this. We're not folding to a shove. Is the 5 good or bad? I'm not sure. I think the 5 is probably quite good. Okay. Oh, he picked up the diamonds in the turn. Cool. Good shove. Yeah, McNeil, I'm not sure, buddy. We have spoken before about Mexican restaurants. Nice. Yeah. Call 8 deuce suited SB multi-way donk. Donk shove was no hand, no draw on ace. 7 trade. Okay, bang, bang, bang. 100%. Go next game. Yeah, I hear what you're saying in text for sure. I definitely hear what you're saying, and I think that there's wisdom in part of like what you're trying to say, but I think it's just such a specific spot with such a specific stack depth. Like if we're 40 big blinds, if we're 30 big blinds deep, and we're betting the turn and we're trying to get value from, you know, overcards and flush draws and potentially straight draws and all that stuff. 100% with you. We got to be going bigger. I think it's just the specificity of that one spot that I think makes it make sense. But yeah. Sorry. So McNeil, basically, I've had a conversation about it. I made as soon as the changes were made, I kind of said, look, I think that I'm not a huge fan of this. I wouldn't mind seeing a change, but I don't like the change. I think I'd like to see a slightly softer version of it, a softer merge, if you will. But now it's been some time and people have had a chance to sort of adapt to it and play a bit more. I think I want to have another conversation if possible. Floating with king high like a boss. Two X multiplier, 7 on the flop. Let's go. All right, that's pretty good. Put that one in. 2 live cards, no sweat. Okay. Pair of 10s any good? 10s are good. King 8, please. King 8, please. Okay, not successful. Thank you very much, Zintex, for the sub, buddy. Appreciate you. Oh, my God, we cannot win. How many all-ins was that in one game? How many all-ins can you win in one game? How many can you lose in one game? Civil, thank you for the follow. Oh my God, that's a massive turn. That might be absolute gin. He's barreling huge, chat. He's barreling huge. Can we get the whole stack on the river? Can we help Nick with the EV challenge? Can we get all the EVs for Nick? Thank you very much for the follow. That was Evil Queen. What's up? Good to see you. That's going to look good on the graph chat. We like those. We like those spots. That's a massive flop as well. Should we just shove and just like close the gap here? Probably. We are in chat. 61% is pretty good. Oh my God. 61%, a big chunk of which was going to be chops, and we don't win that one either. First time chatter. Hello, Chris Div. Call it Christ. Hi, Nick. I am a big fan of you. Is a guy limping 7-5 off BVB 5 big blind deep versus reg, or 5 big blind deep versus reg a reg? I would say almost definitely not, mate. Limping anything at 5 big blinds deep, blind v blind, is something that you only ever do against someone that you think is absolutely not paying attention and is not a thinking player. And the kind of hands that you want to be limping at that stack depth do not contain 7-5 off. I would say that anybody limping 7-5 off blind v blind 5 effective is probably playing very poorly. I think that's probably fair to say. He cannot wait to get the house in, guys. Top pair is hard to make. I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it. I totally get it. We're putting this one all in. Folds, please. I would have preferred folds, but win the flip's fine too. Yo, thank you very much, Cram Fighters. All right, so 8 tray off against the unknown. We're going to sneak in as a limp. This is a fold technically. We're widening our range here in order to exploit our opponents. Tato Stars, thank you for the follow as well. Anders says it's amazing how bad you run in these spots, man. I've been running very far under EV for quite some time now. We are we're playing through the pain though. Basically, at this point in the challenge, if I could get close to expectation in terms of chips won, we will finish the challenge in profit for sure. It's not going to be millions, but then again, spinning goes at the $10 games are usually not about winning millions. You can buy these pre-flop charts off him. You can get for free on GTO Wiz to know 7-5 off his limping is not good. He's selling you charts that have you limping 7-5 off at 5 effective. Yikes. Well, I'm pretty sure that's not part of the Nick Walsh TV chart pack. We can take a look, but I feel somewhat confident that that's, you know, that's the spot. We're going to be a little bit tighter than expectation here as well, guys. 10-7 is technically a call there. Technically, but he has to be shoving the correct range for that to be true, which he isn't. Curtis made top pair once. Ace deuce! Slight Mathematical advantage. All right, let's go. Cool, 30 bucks in the bag. Next game, please, senor. Doop, 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 doop. Doop, 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 doop. No, 9, 10. Doop, 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 doop. Doop, 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 doop. Doop, 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 doop. So yeah, I just did a filter, guys. The last 2,800 games I've played, I have a chip EV of 18 chips a game, which, like I said, is getting up there. Somewhat respectable. We still don't know exactly what the absolute max is in the current environment, but I'd say that is okay-ish. I'd say that was probably downright respectable. We'll never know I folded. Yeah, let's just have a bet here. The wizard loved it. All right, what are we doing on this flop, guys? Doesn't seem quite right. Right, we're going to beat this guy. We're going to beat this guy. Going to do it, chat. We're going to beat this guy. Bow no. Back 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 bow no. Bow no. Back 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 bow no. 2x multiplier, slam it in king 7. Hitting the 7 feels great. Let's run good. 7. I thought there was a chance we might have outdrawn him. For a moment, I thought there was a chance. Yeah, king 7's going to be a slam dunk push there, guys. Running into king 9, kind of unlucky. But, you know, there we go. Just math, mate. This Mazas guy, I feel like we've actually played a decent amount of volume with this guy, but 18, baby. Oh, wow, we're betting 4 bigs. I want to know what we're betting 4 bigs with here. Oh. Okay, well, there's a lot of weird stuff going on here. C-bet 4 big blinds with queen 6 of clubs. That doesn't sound right to me. That's a massive one. Yeah, that doesn't sound right. What's up, John? A little bit better. Just a little bit, though. Not a whole lot. All right. I think this guy's going to have a 5 or he's going to have clubs. So I'm going to try and set up for the 3 streets here. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That works. We're going to make a note on the guy though that just busted. Flatting with ace 10 of spades there I think is unforgivable. Actually unforgivable. Call ace 10 suited SB multi-way, no shove. Queen tray. What's up, Rick? Good to see you, mates. Can we get some action? We're getting check raised huge here. Now, if there's anything to go by that we've seen before, our friend likes to do this with straight draws, right? And on this texture, what, Jack 9 is the most likely one. King Jack probably plays differently pre-flop. Jack 9 cooked. We Jack 9 cooked now. Okay, all of it's cooked now. Good Lord. Maybe we just push flop. Danilo asking about rakeback. I am counting rakeback. Yeah, it's just separate. We did the math earlier today. It's about we got about $1,080 in rakeback so far, and other bonuses. We're heads up against Mazas again. We managed to sneak in a nice trap here. No good in the all-ins. So, Danny, basically, I would build the rakeback directly into the solver, not the solver, the tracker. But because I started from like no chest whatsoever, there's not one flat rate of rakeback that I can put in there. So we started at the smallest chest. Now we're currently on golds, which is 25%. But if I applied 25% to the whole thing, it wouldn't be accurate. So So I'm doing it separately, and I'm going to put it into the updates. Yeah, by the way, Civil, is it... Civil is asking, is it normal to have a $1,380, well, 138 buy and downswing after 4,050 games played? No, it's not. No, I'm very far under expectation here, I'm afraid. No, I'm at one point I was around 100 buy-ins under expectation in chips. $60 is no good. Yeah, welcome to the channel, everybody. Thank you for the good lucks. I'll be happy when it's over, but I wouldn't be surprised if we do more in the future. This is fine at 9. Yeah, this is cool. This is right on the cusp of what you want to push here, but we can do it anyway. 10-7 off. Famous 9 big blind push. Yeah, it's been interesting. The new faster version of spins aren't really to my taste. I prefer the slower versions, obviously, but I have found it an interesting challenge, and I have improved a lot. Playing the different frequencies, the different much shorter average stacks. At the moment, I think we're running about a 17 or 18 chip EV, which I think is okay. But yeah, we'll see how things progress in the future. Blind v blind, king 8, definitely easy push. Running into king 9 again. Nice one, buddy. Yeah, I mean, I've been doing spin content forever, if you weren't a follower before. I think I started streaming on Twitch in 2017 or something, and then I started doing spins a couple years later after Power Up ceased to be a thing. Running into Ace Jack for like 2 big blinds here as well. Hilarious. I got nothing against you, Nick, but it was fun that you turned a full house on 4-5-5-4 deuce and the river completing flush. I was expecting you to have ace only, and I turned my 3 deuce into a bluff. You only had 7-5. Literally, my only bluff is I have to look up the spot, buddy. Do you have the hand history? Is this the whole 10-5 thing that everyone's banging on about? Also, this Civil guy, when he was describing 7-5 off earlier, he was describing blind v blind, as in multi-way blind v blinds. BVB, not heads up. I'm definitely going to be limping 7-5 against unknowns. And probably misclicking against regs. If I don't know them at least. Well, that didn't work out very well, did it? Thank you very much for the follow, El Bisto. Yeah, he's upset about 7-5 for some reason. It sounds like Chris knows what's going on too. He wasn't even describing the hand correctly. The question was, Nick, would you call a reg who limps 7-5 off blind v blind a reg? Blind v blind. And now the hand that it's being described to me is heads up. Good luck, sir. Good luck to you. Can we get a little king jacker? Nice. All in, and we actually win an all in. That's Q. Let's do one of these here. This is a min-raise pot. We're blocking the straight. I'd prefer if we just made the straight. That'd be nice. Wow, full pot river. Boom. Well, I guess we're going to do one of these. The diamonds might be live for us here as well still. Thing is, trying to get him to fold an overpair or ace high is probably going to be a tall order. And this is a spot where I'd usually try and get max, so we're going to keep it chill. It was blind v blind, 5 big blinds deep. You can filter it in your database for 7-5 off on the 18th of February this year. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. 18th of February, huh? Okay. Let's take a look. Catch a bluff there with the 5. All right, here we go. And we immediately run into ace king when we have ace jack, of course. Okay, let's take a look at this hand because this is causing drama apparently. Oh goodness me. Okay, so the 18th of February. Filter. Let's see if we can stop running into fucking monsters. Okay, no, ace nine's cool too. All right, so what was the date? Okay, 9th of that was okay. Okay, this is important. This is important, guys. 18th of February. Is the 18th February 2025. Okay, and I had 7-5 off apparently. What's up, Wix? Good to see you. I don't have any. Do I have to turn this off? Okay, here we go. 7-5 off. Can we find it? 7-5 off. Blind v blinds. Okay, pre-flop hand. Seven five off, and I made a boat. Okay, let's see what we got here, gang. Let's see if we can figure it out. Sure enough, here it is. Okay, wait a second. Okay, yeah, fair enough. It's right here. It's right here, chat. One sec. Fair enough. Check this out. Okay, here it is. From the 18th of February, Princel's in the big blinds. Can I just say really quickly as well, and I'm being actually completely sincere. Printel is a really good reg. This is a player I actually really respect. And sure enough, here it is, blind v blind. Not heads up, blind v blind. There was a limp with 7-5 offsuit. Here's something I can tell you guys right now. And I don't think, even if you're going to be a jackass like Civil, I think Chris has been very, very polite, and I don't mind a bit of banter. You're absolutely right. Even if you want to be a total jerk about it, right? I think it's safe to assume that even if you really, 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 really don't respect me, I think it's safe to assume we know that this is a misclick, okay? And also, if a random call goes in there in a $10 spin and go for one big blind, and we end up hitting this board really hard, so be it, right? I did manage to actually turn it into a trap and catch a bluff, to my credit. But if it's really Civil, if it's really that difficult for you to imagine that this is a misclick, and you think that this is somehow part of my like expert strategy, I can you know, fuck it. I'm gonna turn off PokerStars. I'm turning off PokerStars. All right, he wants to be a dick about the chart pack. Okay, let's take a look at the chart pack. Okay, we started the hand around 5 big blinds effective, right? It's like almost exactly 5 big blinds effective. This is the Nick Walsh TV chart pack on my website. If you guys are interested, we're gonna take a look at 3-way small blind versus big blind, and we're gonna take a look at 5 big blinds effective. Is 7-5 off considered a call in this range? Is there any calling in this range? In fact, there is not. Do you think that this is part of a strategy that I would employ against a player that I recognize by name as an actual reg, who I will openly say I think is actually a very good player? I think Printel's the kind of player that I want to avoid on tables. I think he's great. So this is a situation against a known reg in a spot where I have absolutely no calls whatsoever, except for in extreme situations against unknown players who I can exploit, which is not one of these players. Yeah, okay. Can we put it to bed now? I'm not talking to you, by the way, Chris. I can take memes. I'm okay with memes. I'm happy with memes. Civil is being uncivilized, I'm afraid. Anyway, let's put that to bed. All right, so I'm going to open up PokerStars again. By the way, guys, PokerStars is always closed when we make reference to that material, just so that there is no I can clarify that in no uncertain terms. PokerStars is closed. I am now opening it again. You made a bad play 9 months ago, unfollowed cred law. Zachary, thank you. Exactly. I can't stand. Do I like your play? I think it's fine, Chris. I think it's fine. If I was you, I would be absolutely terrified that I had aces as well. So I probably wouldn't have bluffed. But despite the fact I misclicked pre-flop, I did manage to make I did actually manage to find some sort of a bluff, which I thought was cool. A trap, I mean. I'm gonna speak to my therapist now. She's called booze. All right, next game. Back in the driver's seat. Oh, 2 regs, fantastic. You're right though, Chris. I don't mind a bit of respectful banter. I'm always happy to look at old hand histories. The cat jumped on the mouse and clicked call. Honestly, honestly. Oh dear. You can insult me, okay? You guys can insult me all you want, but do not ever insult the Nick Walsh TV chart pack. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. Jakers, that is correct, I believe. No, Tom, you're right, but I just think it's too funny. It's too funny to avoid. That was a good day for me, by the way, guys. If you're interested, on the 18th of the 2nd, 2025, I won 157 chips in EV. Over 20 games. Woo! Can a guy just gamble and limp for half a pig? Oh, mate. No, I know you weren't, mate. I'm not talking about you. I know, dude. Sorry, I'm slow rolling Beto Kira here with ace jack of clubs on accident. That was an unintentional slow roll, which is now going to result in me losing anyway. Sigma, thank you very much for the resub, mate. Appreciate you, dude. No, I know what you're saying is legit. I know you're not making fun of me, mate, and I know that you're here in good spirit. It's not an issue. This was for Civil's benefit because he seemed to have a real issue here. He had a real issue, and I can guarantee you that anybody who obsesses over what is very clearly not a standard play and what was almost definitely a misclick. Kind of struggle with the mental game, huh? No, I hear what you're saying, yeah. But but my counterpoint to what you're saying is, I don't think you need to have bluffs there because it's not a thing. It's not a spot, right? It doesn't happen. Nobody should be limping there, good or bad. So I just think probably you can just avoid it completely. And I think my range should be, if my range wasn't just a random misclick, then it probably should just be very, very strong. And therefore, you know. We're going to big bet here. I'm going to give you guys a speech. If he folds to the 3 big blind c-bet. All right, nice end. I'm pretty sure I want to look that one up. I'm pretty sure that's the right size. I've been trying to work on those spots. Let's go back to hands, and then let me mark that one. I'm almost positive that we're supposed to be betting big on those textures. Let me take a look. Oh, I need to turn this shit off now. Stupid date. There you go. That's what we want. This one, mark hand. Got a lot of hands to go over in review later on today, guys. No, sorry. He put me all in and I called. THC, by the way, welcome back, buddy. Long time no see. Give me a follow. Oh, there it is. Nice. Thanks, man. I need to know is hamming ace king suited on a board of 895 GTO. Wix, honestly, mate, we need to sit down and have a conversation about that session. Thank you very much for the follow. He's no good. I really enjoyed it. Okay, Wix, I'm not trying to be a jerk. I think that I think there was a lot of good, but there was also a lot of very unusual stuff going on there. The biggest sin that I will never forgive you for was not winning the whole stack with jacks full. I just about justified most of the hand, but on the river you must get all of it. You must get all of it. You must get all of it. All right, I want to write this one down for my sanity. No 10. Thank you. Dadush, thank you for the follow. What's up? How you doing today? Can we win an all-in, please? Spades forever? Let's go. All right, heads up. Jack 4 we can push here profitably. Against the unknown, we're going to play it slow. Free cards are good. Okay, we can get away for now. Min raise, ultra, shallow, BBB was check off. That's a really, really good note to have. 5 tray again is the spot that we would usually fold against regs. Against unknowns, we're just going to do this. Delayed c-bet. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that, buddy. We're good, man. We're friends now. And, yeah, best luck with your spins, mate. At the time of the to be honest, at the time of the hand, I thought you thought I'm brain dead. That's why you limped, and that's why I assumed it was 8. No, fair enough, mate. No, dude, we've played so much fucking poker together, dude. There's no chance I didn't have you marked as a reg, like a good one as well. I'm not just saying that for your benefit because you're on stream. We can push this again. I think we can probably just play a very, very, very unbalanced game here. I jammed 1.8K with Ace King suited on the board of 895, and apparently that's a bad jam. Ace Deuce, here we go. I'm just better than everyone. I got the fold easy. I thought he had quads. Shut up, Wix. All right, that's a win in the bag. Let's keep it going here. More wins, please. Graph is looking okay today, guys. We have gone up. We have won some chips and some EVs. Oh, Wix, you're killing me, mate. I thought he had quads. If you guys missed it, there was a really good Hippodrome Live cash stream. Oh, my God. Pocket Kings. Can we get some action, please, from the big blind? Yeah, this is not how you want to play Queen 8. No, no, no. Don't do it. Okay, we can confirm that blue tag now. This is definitely some wild ting. This is some wild ting. Yo, thank you very much, Jakers, for the sub, dude. Why are you so nice to me? Okay, open shove, 15 effective was Queen 8 offsuit. This is definitely a noteworthy note. And the trap with the Queen 8 was incredible here as well. Curtis. So funny. Technically we can call here. Against this player, I'm just going to take it out. They're not going to shove the correct range. And that in this case, it's actually not a good thing. It's going to be more polarized. Sorry, more skewed towards strength. This is definitely too good to miss, though. This is a big adjustment that we want to make now. I think that we are losing EV in the way that we call. We are losing EV in the way that we call certain combinations. I'm going to trap this one against this player just because unknown. I'm going to try and be in more pots like this. Free card, ace of clubs. Go on, blast off. There we go. Oh, it's just 100% with the blast off. All right. All right. Can I get a clip of that, please, Tom? I didn't think it was going to be that effective. Oh, we didn't even get a note on that one, did we? I didn't think the trap was going to be that effective, but wow, wow, wee, wah. Kaboom. And pots. Overbet shove, lead. Overbet shove, lead, turn was air after missed C-bets. This is super important to note because that sort of behavior will follow into other categories where people will just spew chips in with no hands or draws or whatever. Yes, exactly. The best part about it was my mate who I went there with, and I had to rub it in his face in the taxi. Did you guys share a taxi home as well? Thought you guys would have got a little spot up in London. And in fairness to Wix, he did convince him to fold the best hands. Oh, this is an annoying one. Where are we at now? 12.5, 13. Now there's GTO and there's reality. And I'm very sad to inform you that I think that we need to fold that one. Just so we can run into ace-9 next hands. Diamonds! All right, next game. Ace-9 will be all in here. He's a little steaming, and his friends were flaming him on how can you fold top pair with a gut shot. Yeah, probably. All right, I'll take a little flip. I can win flips. Oh, Mo, thank you, mate. I'm glad that could help you out, dude. What's up, Sky Arch, mate? Good to see you. Thank you for the follow, Mo. Appreciate it. Oh my God, that's so good. Honestly, Curtis is never gonna shut up about it now as well. You guys have put Curtis on life tilt more than me. Okay, fine. You can have that one. All right, we're going to give it a little limperoo here. I wouldn't usually respect the leads, but the full pot leads on those boards, not all leads are built the same, you know what I mean, guys? Pushback. King 7, we can just push this one in the 2x multiplier as well. Running into King Jack is unlucky. This is definitely a profitable jam. 10 would be nice. That's the story of my life at the moment, guys. Very, very nice jam spots running into dominating hands. Makes it hard. It's tricky. 2x multiplier push, live cards. Oh. 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 Live cards are live, believe it or not. Zachary says, I feel like people misunderstand GTO as it changes based on opponents' ranges. That's exactly it. My friend David Doherty had, he and I did commentary the other day, and he said something that was so perfect. Because at the moment, there's a big conversation about, are you GTO or are you exploit? And I'm gonna mess up the quote, but basically he said something along the lines of, "People don't understand that GTO is exploit. It's just GTO with different inputs. There's no such thing as GTO and exploit. GTO is exploit. It's just only effective as an exploit when you have the correct inputs." And I thought that was so fucking clever because that's exactly it. That's exactly it. Knowing how GTO plays against GTO is a good baseline. I think we're probably going to end up going big, and then we're probably going to end up stacking off. Let's do this, and if we have to call the shove, we will. If we can shove the turn, we will as well. Wish me luck, guys. Wick says you should have come with us, mate. I was actually trying to make the. I was actually trying to organize it so I was going to come up with you guys. So I was going to travel with you, but we couldn't actually do it live that day. There was no setup for the. Carrie Jane wasn't going to be live. She was coming back from Vegas, so we had to do it remote. But I actually messaged her to say I want to do it. This one's too wide. Sorry, guys. I messaged her to say I wanted to do it live so I could come up with you guys, and I was going to go up there earlier. And then, unfortunately, timings didn't work out. But we can win this one. Come on. But yeah, well said, Zachary. That's exactly it. When you look up GTO, what you're seeing is GTO versus GTO. That is the point of equilibrium. However, if you input a player's inputs correctly, GTO is GTO against those players. And somehow we ended up dominated again. We're shoving 8 high and we're still dominated. Cool. We're just always going to be all in against dominating hands. Mana Jax, what's up? Yeah, exactly, Zach. That's right. If you plug in your opponent's ranges and solve, that would be the GTO solution for their exploit. Yeah, exploiting that player. All right. Well, we've made a little progress today, gang. Probably going to play for like another 20 minutes or so. And then we'll be done for today. I think we might get into some more Spin Go this week, though, on stream. We're getting called by King 4 of Spades here. This time we actually had it dominated. Wah, wah, wee, wah. Okay, fine. Too good. You're too good. Just too good. We're going to sneak in a limp here. Nice one, Tom. Thank you for the clips, buddy. Those are lovely. I might be tempted to put in a tiny check raise here. If he goes for the 2, I think we could just fold. King 10 limp. If he ships, we're going to call. going to play it slow on this flop. Really slow, really slow. Extra slow. And now we're going to get called by a deuce. Nice. All right, big ISO here, guys. How many times will Nick say GTO on this stream? If you guess correctly, then you are in fact GTO. I try to avoid it, but when it comes up in conversation, you know. Yeah, this is definitely too wide to be limping, but we're going to do it against this guy because we can get away with it. And do I believe he has an ace or a jack? The answer is no. Do I think he has king, queen? No. So does that mean we're always calling? I think that is a reasonable course of action. What do you guys think? We actually want to note that as well, to be fair, before we get off that table. Right. So definitely unusual line. We're not sure what to think about that, but it's not telling a believable story, is it, chat? So limp pot, ultra shallow. Donk, ace, jack, deuce, rainbow was air, shove, turn. Definitely something that's important to know for future, because the kind of player that thinks they can get away with that is also going to donk lead on high card boards where they feel like you would have raised, you know, strong combinations, and that's something that's very, 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 very quickly and easily exploitable to the point where they're like torching like immediately, basically. Yeah, we're calling here against reg. The 8-9 push is definitely approved. 8-9 push is very good, in fact, there. Seven, 4. Let's get in the pots. King 10. Let's take a free card. Now, if we're going to check the flop with KT, I think we need to call this turn, especially with the 10 of clubs in hand that we can rep if we so choose. And I think probably got to fold. Like, we're going to improve to the king and the 10. We're going to have the best hand on the river some of the time, too, if it goes check, check. So I think that works. It's not going to put us at threat either for giving away too many chips. I drove a 1968 Pontiac GTO back in the day. So I don't know if Tom and Raksha will remember. I'm sure they probably will. But I bought a jade plant, a.k.a. a money plant, some time ago here in Brighton. Just going to run into monsters. So wait, just monsters all day? Just monsters all day. Okay, cool, fine. We're just always going to run into monsters whenever we're all in, yeah? Anyway, I bought a money plant, or a jade plant, and 9? Oh, my God. I'll take it. We got lucky at least. That's a couple of the chips back. And we named the plant GTOP, Game Theory Optimal Plant. And I still have that jade plant, and it's monstrous now. It was about this big when I bought it. Now it's like a tree. It's the only plant that I've ever kept alive for longer than like a month. What's up, Jeffrey? Like, that 6-7 suited spot when I'm pushing there at like 9 effective, like it is GTO, absolutely, yes, 100%. Do you need to take it against every player? No, I'm not suggesting you do, but you can call there. That would be fine. However, when you push that hand for the last couple months, for the last couple weeks, I don't know, maybe months, all of the spots where I'm pushing there, I'm finding a call, and they always have a monster. The point of that whole situation is that you're going to shove, and they're going to be forced to fold like most of the deck. Not only are they running into the calling section, but it's always a hand that destroys me. And then I'm there with a trap with like 9s, and then they have jacks every time. It's crazy. But it's okay. We play through the pain here. And we get lucky some of the time. Yeah, Raksha, do you remember? And I used to have a dedicated camera that would like zoom in on that one plant, and we get reactions from the plant. She's a giant now. GTOP is huge. It might have been pre-Tom, to be honest. We will not be folding King Jack of Diamonds. Mole says, "Hey sir, came to think about an old poker book from the golden money printing days online around year 2003, I think. Colin Moshman's Sit and Go Strat. Have you read this one? It's still amazing, and that's crazy. I have not. I have heard of Colin Moshman, and I haven't read that. That probably would have been published before I was really into poker. I also really like to imagine like how I would do if I were to be transported back to like the early days of poker. Like shit would have been so different, right? And that's not because I think that I'm anything special. Like I've had the benefit of like all modern tools and like tons of coaching, and like I do not consider myself to be a particularly gifted poker player in the slightest. But to take that knowledge back and then try and make that work, like 8-9, it's going to be an approved push, by the way. The idea is we're supposed to get some folds some of the time. Queen 9 is a call here versus push. Wish me luck. Here we go. Yeah, the Jack 4 is a bit on the wide side if I'm not mistaken. It's probably right on the cusp of a profitable push, but I think that also in the 2x multipliers, I definitely do not blame Nika for running it. Nika Bust, also another very good spin and go player. Like proper reg. This is what I'm talking about, chat. We get the chips in good for the win, and then as soon as we have a standard 100% push, they have us dominated. This one is going to be very approved. GTOP can make a reappearance, excuse me, Raksha. I think that'd be cool. Once I sort out the new office, maybe I'll find a little spot on the window for her. She's got a sunny spot in the front of the house. It doesn't matter what the multiplier is if you can't win the game. So much truth to that. There's so much truth in those words. All right, who's going to wake up with a better hand? Jack 5 of hearts, apparently. Nope, live card's no good. All 100% reasonable spots, all 100% textbook from both players so far. And no justice for poor old Nick Walsh. Give him the queen. Go on. Do it. Counterfeit. Yeah, this time the Jack Trey's got to go. So Jack Trey, I think, is a shove at like 4 bigs. I think you can shove at 4 big blinds, something like that. Not dominated, at least. And we move on to the next game because we don't care about $10. Is PokerStars Nikki considered a modern tool? Maybe not so modern anymore. I might be considered an old school tool now. Old man tool. 5-4 offsuit. Can you believe the outrageous nature of this man? All right, we're gonna give him this one. So yeah, we this is the guy that we just played who we called with the 10. Do you remember? He led on ace jack and then shoved the straight draw on the turn. So being in pots with a wider range, I think is. What's up, Team 651? Good to see you, mates. Good to see you, squad. All right, free card for this guy. Ooh, flopping two pair is fun. No action, huh? Can we get max with 10s? This guy's on life tilt from that call we made earlier with the 10. So he's going to just punt it. Life tilt, big blind. Oh, that jack is annoying. The issue that I have is the small blind will have quite a few jack combos. Let's check and see how we get on the turn. We're going to call. All right. So this will be quite telling on the river. If Zonde goes again, okay, fine. Freebie then. Nice. Yeah. Top pair any good? Top pair any good here? Not bad, not bad. Deuces never loses. This one's for Carrie Jane Craigie. Oh, sorry, guys. Do you remember what I said about the all-in spots? Do you remember what I said? Do you remember the 100% push? Like you always go all in there and then dominate it every time. Oh my God, it's so tilting. I do not understand what I've done wrong, but it is impossible to get a game going and win some fucking EV when all you do is push into monsters. And they're not even always monsters. They're just enough of a monster to have you absolutely wrecked every time. Zonde Popes. Okay, we're gonna mix things up here. We're gonna mix it up here against this guy. We're not gonna find the push with the ace deuce. We are gonna find a large ISO with 6 tray though. Okay, we're gonna find a very, very, very small continuation bet on King 10-4. Oh my God. What a player. Zonde Popes. All right, so this is the guy. We're going to bet one big blind, and they're going to ship ace-5. No, they don't have ace-5. They're going to ship 5-6. Oh, 5-6 is problematic now. I'm not actually sincerely worried about specifically 5-6, but we're gonna see if we can do something here. All right, I think probably we would be remiss not going for more value here. I think there are too many hands we are beating. Nick said you need both major and minor chords to make a beautiful song. It was a beautiful saying. There you go. That's so true. Denise said, lol, more like PokerStars. All right. We can do it. We can do this. We can do this. That's probably a massive overfold, but I have a feeling about these spots. I have a feeling about these spots, and I feel strongly that I'm just going to get out of the way, spare myself the heartbreak, and just find a spot to destroy this person. Oh my god, he has a 4 that's outkicked us. That's so sick. That is actually sickening. Might have considered bluffing that river, but it does feel like a spot where we just... I mean, the whole point of calling that turn is because we actually will have the best hand a decent amount. Like, he's going to have missed clubs, he's going to have missed straight draws. So it does feel a little bit over bluffed if we're going to do that there. Maybe we should have given it another beat. I think maybe we should give it another beat. Technically, he shouldn't have that much Queen X, King X, or Ace X. Technically. I think I'm going to triple off here, guys. Wish me luck. Yeah. Lovely. Gut shot feels great. The 6 might be enough. Get value from a 4 or a deuce or the clubs in the turn. Maybe a straight draw or 2. And my opponent is limped at about 3.5 bigs effective, so we got to be careful. And this is probably getting too wide now. And we managed to hit an 8. And our opponent is just shipping. There is an argument that maybe we're just going to be up against, you know, straight draw or a flush draw or whatever, but as played, I think that's probably wise. We can shove 9-6 suited profitably there as well, guys, but again, we're trying to get this post and try and do something against the unknown player here. That would be nice, Tom. I would like that. Same goes for 10-9. This can just be pushed. Let's bet it's the turn. We're in a deeper stack game. We're in a slightly slower version of the game. And I think probably this time we got to call. Wish me luck, guys. There we go. A nice trap there with the king six of spades. We're going to get wrecked anyway. Nice. 40 bucks. All right, cool. Nice way to finish today's sesh, but don't go anywhere, guys. We're doing some review now. We have a couple of hands we want to look over, including some post-flop. Let's take a look at the results from today. I think that was a pretty good sesh. So just FYI, guys, this is not updating. This is just a screenshot below. I had to put it there because the chat was broken. So let's take a look at the actual results now at the moment. So new challenge. This is where we started. This is where we started down here, minus 1,380. And we ended up today minus 1,290. So we have made considerable progress, and we have managed to win a few chips in EV as well. So this is the overall, guys. Let's take a look at the results from today specifically. This is today. Okay, cool. So we managed to win 43 chips per game throughout today's session. I was going to say that's not right. Okay, cool. That's the correct number. So we won $90 overall. Chip EV of 54 is correct. And actually, we did manage to claw back some chips above EV, which is rare for us over the last couple weeks. So 54 chips per game. If we could maintain that, we'd be absolutely murdering these games. And like I said, if I filter for the last 3 months, guys, you can see the progress. So overall, our chip EV is currently 14. That includes the very beginning of the challenge when we hadn't played in the merged player pool with the shorter stacks. And if I filter just for the last 3 months specifically, right? So if I go like this, if I go 01, 09, 2025 and onwards, you guys will see that we are definitely improving. We have a chip EV of 17 chips per game over 2,843. So that's half of the challenge, or more than half of the challenge. And this is definitely a much more respectable number. And this is, I anticipate, approximately where we will be once we've sort of canceled out those early figures. So we're doing something right. We're heading in the right direction, guys. We're obviously winning more chips than we're losing. And, you know, at this point, it's just a race to beat the rake. Don't forget as well, if you are watching for the first time, guys, this big number, this big minus is just our results without rake back. We did the math earlier. We had about $1,080 or so in rakeback and rewards. So we're down about $200, but we're also miles beneath EV. We're miles and miles under EV here, guys. Once this catches up with this, along with our like greatly enhanced results and performance in the deeper stacked games, which are actually for more money as well, I do anticipate we will have a very reasonable ROI overall. Considering we're playing hypers, and now they're the hyperest they've ever been. Extra hypers. But there you go. Progress. Let's take a look at the review. So before we do anything else, really quickly, let me just close PokerStars. Try not to dox myself. Okay, so now PokerStars is closed. That means we can do some study. Let's take a look at some more advanced tings. Yeah, that green line is much improved, Tom. Yeah, this is, I mean, look, so at its worst, that's about 30,000 chips beneath EV. That's about 100 buy-ins below EV or so right there. That's nothing to scoff at, that gap. We're catching up, though. So let's take a look at marked hands. We have a couple to go through today. This is an old one. Let's just take a look at what this was. Okay, so the question mark here was basically this is one that we want to look at in GTO Wiz. Just a reminder again, guys, we're going to make use of GTO Wizard, but we're not using this ever while we play. And that's why I have to. That's why we pause and make a big song and dance about closing PokerStars. So if we fire up the Wiz here, let's go ahead and just drop it in upload. I'm pretty sure Queen 10 is meant to be a call. Yeah, so this is just one that we missed. The reason why I flagged this one specifically is because this is not a straightforward, you know, like one reference lookup. The fact that the player is shoving 11.3 bigs into an unbalanced stack depth is going to be very important, because this player will be shoving with the anticipation that they're worried about the worst outcome, which is the 11.3 big blinds in the big blind. them being the second deepest stack here is going to be what sort of modifies the way that they play the shove. But Queen 10 has enough equity. The fold here is incorrect. I'm getting better at spotting these unbalanced asymmetrical calls. But this is one from a previous session anyway. This wasn't from today, but I would have made that call now, which is good. Another spot where I think we're making improvements. Right, so these are hands from today. And we're going to sort of go through them. Some of them are just pre-flop. Some of them will take post, whatever. We limp King 8. Our opponent ISOs all in. We call. I think this is pretty straightforward. Just heads up. We didn't have this player marked as a reg, but when I looked them up, we had like 180 hands, or here it is, 193 hands on them. So for that reason, I think we probably just assume they're going to be pretty savvy, and we're going to call with King 8 suited. We can look this one up in the NWTV chart pack. This one's pretty straightforward. So again, these are available on my website if you're interested in just one purchase Spin and Go chart pack. That's very good. Heads up, we are in the small blind. The big blind has ISO'd all in, and we are looking at the 11 big blind mark. We can see King 8 suited is miles within a call. We're calling with King 5 suited, King 6 suited, King 7 suited, King 8 suited. The calling range here is actually much wider than people realize. But again, that's only if you're playing against a good opponent who is ISO jamming enough, and most people are not. However, King 8 suited is going to have enough equity against most players. In fact, that previous game, we trapped them with a similar spot where we limped the suited king and then called the shove for the win. So there you go. Happy days. Unmark that one. That's good. Jack 10 suited. If it opens for me. There it is. Okay, cool. Our opponent is all in here for approximately 12 big blinds. And we are calling with Jack 10 suited. This is against somebody this is the previous player we have marked as now a reg. Let's take a look at the NWTV chart pack. Sorry guys, just had it open. So if we take a look at images, heads up in the big blind facing an open shove for 12 big blinds. Jack 10 suited is again going to be well within a call. In fact, Jack 9 suited and Jack 8 suited is a consideration at the stacked up. So reg v reg, correct call, happy days. Mark that one off. I should also note, guys, there are spots where the calls are going to be mostly to do with the fact your opponent is shoving the correct range, but there are other spots where hands just have so much equity you just don't really want to fold, because otherwise you're just giving up a big blind when you could be flipping against them most of the time. I would say that that spot in particular is starting to stray into the territory of always call. Even unbalanced shoving there is going to lean very heavily towards small pocket pairs, in which case your suited connectors like 8-7 suited, 9-10 suited, Jack 10 suited actually have considerable equity. And then also if they're shoving ace-5 off and stuff, you still have like a 45% equity shot, not including the dead money. So it's going to probably be one you want to run most of the time. All right, so this is what I'm looking forward to seeing, because again, this is one of these more unbalanced spots. Asymmetrical blinds here and here. Queen 10 off, I think, is probably going to default to a push. We have a player in the big blind that's got about 12. This player's got about 13.5. I'm pretty sure that Queen 10 wants to just jam here. If we were all 10 big blinds effective or so, I know that Queen 10 is a push. Let's just take a look at the wizard version of this, because they will get very close to the asymmetrical one accurately. So Queen 10 off. Okay, cool. They actually want us to let's take a look at the spot here. How close did it get? Maybe it doesn't have one for this spot. One sec. So 14, 14, 12. See, that's not exactly it, is it? Let's look at the spot again. Yeah, so basically GTO Wizard is saying it doesn't really have the spot. If we approximate this to, let's say we approximate this to, let's call that 14. Let's call this 13, 13, 13. That's going to be the closest one, I think. So if we were to look at symmetrical 13, 13, 13, that's probably close enough. Okay, actually, this might have been too wide to push. This might be a mistake, guys. I don't know what this color scheme is. I hate this. It's better. Oh, sorry. We're looking at the wrong range here, guys. Anyway. Okay, so at 13, 13, 13, they want us to min-raise the queen 10. So the shove might have been too aggressive in the spot. If we were to look at 12, 12, 12, it's the same. And then, like I said, at 10, this should be a pure push. Okay, not even pure. Okay, cool. So we're being too aggressive here, I think. So if we were to jump around, basically what we're saying is, here is the best approximation I can think of without finding it. In fact, let's do this again and see if it's proper. One sec. Go back here. 14, 14, 12 isn't quite right. Yeah, okay. So basically this was too wide. We were being too aggro. And this is a good one to pick out because this was a game where we were very much in control. We were very much in control of this game. This was a good setup against these two players. Everything that we had done thus far was very, very like heavy in EV, and as in like, you know, we had outplayed our opponents very successfully. So for us to expose too much equity to these players here is probably a considerable mistake. Queen 10 is a hand that's going to play well as a min raise here anyway. So I think maybe we want to just remind ourselves in these spots that if it feels too close, we should just be playing this as a min. We're definitely going to play Queen 10, right? But just not as a jam. I think the other thing in my brain as well is when I'm on stream, I'm looking at this number, and that's to me is looking like 10 big blinds at a glance. It's actually closer to 12. It's 11.5. And that does change things considerably. So this becomes probably way too wide to push. And this definitely should be a min raise. So this was a mistake. And that's one that we're going to try and learn from in future. Right, let's fire this one up as well. And King 5 suited. This is just a rip for 9 bigs. Again, this should be... Let's look this one up because it's unbalanced. The fact that this guy is shorter will make this more of a push for sure. So let's open up the whiz. Let's drop it in upload. And yeah, sure enough, this is a push. Let's take a look at how wide we're supposed to go here with this shorter stack. So this is 9-6-9, as in 9 big blinds for us, 6 in the small, and then 9 in the big. That's the easiest approximation because the effective stack for this player is also 9. We're at 8.83, right? So this makes sense to me. I think this is the appropriate solution. Looking at the buttons range, we're playing almost all push, which makes plenty of sense. So we're going to shove as wide as King 4 suited here. They want us to balance in aces and kings as a min raise, but I think those are going to be played much better as a limp if your opponents aren't paying attention. It's very unbalanced. Thinking players will notice that immediately, though, so you might want to be careful with those moves against regs. But yeah, this is all good. I think this is everything we push. There's nothing here that's particularly weird. Jack 7 suited, 10 7 suited, 9 7 suited. I probably actually would miss those. That's really interesting, actually. But it shows you how much wider it is when the player is short stacked. So if we look at this, guys, the all-in here, if we look here, we're shoving 34.9%, and this is where it goes 9-6-9. If we look at the symmetrical 9-9-9, what we're gonna notice is that number is significantly smaller. You see how much smaller that becomes? Studying these asymmetrical spots is going to be super important for the shorter version of this game because it happens so often. It's important for both, really, but we can see the difference is pretty stark here, right? So that is... This solution is 29.9, and then the previous spot was 34.9, so it widens up a lot. That's a big, big percentage jump. So again, it's good that we're cognizant of that, and that's obviously a good spot that we would have missed before that we're better at now. Okay, so limp at 12 big blinds effective. I'm pretty sure we can shove 6-4 suited very profitably. I would be surprised if that's not even GTO. Let's just take a look at the charts for this. Sorry, guys, that's the wrong folder. So we're looking at big blind heads up versus limp. In fact, we're going to use the advanced version of this pack because I want to see how often we're going to ISO large with the suited connectors. Player has limped, and we are at 12 big blinds effective. We can see 6-4 suited is going to be a blend. So we're allowed to push this one. The yellow strip is all in. We're allowed to ISO this big. It's going to be probably about 25%, 25%, 50% check. We're going to shove these small suited connectors more aggressively the deeper stacked we are. As we get shallower, we want to take them out. So you can see we're starting to be on the cusp. 5-4 suited is a push. 6-4 suited is a push. And then these combos are going to be ISO large. This is balancing the times when we ISO these ones large. So king queen off becomes a 4.5 big blind ISO, but we're going to balance that with the absolute trash at the bottom of our range. And we're going to balance that with these sort of suited connectors for board coverage. So we actually end up having high stuff, trash, and then middling stuff as well. If we go this way, if we go higher, 12 big blinds, 13, 14. This is 12. Watch how these change down here, these suited connectors. 12, 13, increasing, 14, increasing, 15, increasing. So they sort of wobble around there, but you can see how much more often we want to be jamming these gappy suited connector kind of things as we go deeper stacked. But again, we're on the right path there. We're remembering the spot correctly. You could argue that this one can be checked back, but if it's shoved 25% of the time, it means the EV and the push is going to be approximately the same as the check if you're playing perfectly post. In many ways, it's easier just to simplify it as a jam. In addition to that, if you're shoving this against unknown players, they are not going to trap anywhere near enough, which means they're going to overfold, which means you're going to absolutely print by shoving, and you won't have to deal with the post flop either. So that's going to be very good. Now, queen nine suited, there's a limp, and then there's an all raised to 2.5. This was the really interesting one, guys. Okay, this is the one that we were talking about at the very start. So, if you guys missed this spot, ignore the fact this guy has queens, okay? Ignore this for a second. This goes limp, ISO small, call. Standard so far, I believe. I'm almost positive this is GTO so far. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. That's why we study. Our opponent's c-bet's very strong, very small. In my opinion, queen nine is too strong to fold on this board. Not only will we just have the best hand with queen high against a balanced ISO range, but our opponents will have fewer combinations of king queen, which is a combo that wants to ISO not all in. King queen offsuit, funnily enough, is actually a large ISO. King queen suited will be a small ISO because it has better post flop playability. So in this case, we'd be blocking like one combination of king queen suited. So what's even more interesting here is on king tray, a lot of the offsuit kings are just going to be all in. King deuce off is a shove. King 3 off is a shove. King 4 off. King 5. Up to king 7 or something. And then the stronger offsuit kings are in ISO to 1/3 stack or something like that. So when you think about it like this, it becomes even harder for our opponent to have a king. Because not only have they done the all-in ISO size, which means they have 4 combinations of king queen suited, but we're also blocking king queen suited with the queen, and also a lot of the kings that they would otherwise play would be all in or raised larger. Now this is all things that we can say accurately because this is a reg. As soon as you're playing against an unknown player, it doesn't fucking matter. You can just call here and just float, and if they give up, they give up, and you win the pot. That's fine. I'm not saying you don't have to play the hand differently, but you do have to you can't give them as much credit for having the correct range. But against a reg, this is perfect, right? So my argument was on the turn, once they check, we've correctly deduced that our opponent probably doesn't have a 3, probably doesn't have a king. We're going to bet small. We're going to try and deny some equity. And then our opponent shoves on us, okay? And then we decided that we were going to call. Part of my thought process is that we're unblocking spades. Our opponent can check shove a flush draw very effectively because they know we're capable of floating with hands like this. In fact, we're capable of floating with hands that have none of the characteristics of queen nine suited. Our opponents will have 6-7. That's a gut shot that they could turn into a check raise bluff. They will have flush draws. They can check raise bluff. They will have 5-6. They will check raise bluff. They will end up having fewer and fewer versions of king X, and they will have quite a few combinations of complete air and also those sort of semi bluffs that we were discussing. So in reality, this actually probably isn't as wild as it looks. So we decide to call. Our opponent has queens. Nice. They have the top of their range. Easy. There's an argument that, against the right player, we might even get, some stronger stuff to fold. I think queens is kind of a tall order against a reg because that's reg v reg. They're going to be very sticky. We're not trying to get queens to fold here, guys. That's not the point, right? We're trying to get him to fold hands that have equity on the turn, or even hands that have better showdown than us, like, queen jack or something like that. Queen jack suited could definitely fold the turn potentially. Queen 10 suited could definitely fold the turn potentially. JC, thank you very much for the follow. Yada 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 yada. Right? We can go on like this forever, but basically there is history between us. We've played a lot. Breastcore is a friend of the stream. I actually think on second look, this has a lot more merit than it looks like. When they have queens, they have queens. When they have kings, if they have ace king, they have ace king. Whatever. That's not the point. We're talking about the entire range, and I think that there is a lot of merit to the call here. Now, when we plug this in, I think everything up until this point on the turn Everything up until this point, I think will be GTO. That's my expectation. However, on this turn, I think that we're actually supposed to check back the queen nine, because I think we're just beating too much with queen nine. I don't think we're supposed to allow our opponent to check raise us, and we're also not meant to be barreling into the traps that are going to be like king, queen, ace, king, that kind of thing. So let's take a look, and let's see if I'm even close, because I'm ready to be wrong, okay? Because this is a post-flop one, let's just whack this straight into Wiz and see what happens. And let's see what the analysis is. Okay, cool. So let's go straight into it. So at... Okay, yeah, looks like we're right so far. So, all right, sorry, let's go back here quick. So pre-flop we call, player raises to 2.5, we call 100%. So far so good. Like I said, pre-flop good. On the flop, player c-bet small, call 100%, right? This is accurate thus far, okay? On the turn, oh, okay, wait a second. On the turn, big blind checks, small blind bets in position, player is all in, player calls. So actually, we're doing well till the turn. We're doing well until the turn shove, I should say. Let's take a look at the spot in more detail. So when we so pre-flop is all good. On the flop, we're still calling. On the turn, the four of clubs, big blind checks, small blind. We're taking a look at queen nine of diamonds here, right? Queen nine specifically is happy to check, also doesn't mind betting small here. So there is some semblance of betting. It's at a frequency that I would argue is completely pointless, so I would say probably what we're saying is, yes, we're supposed to check the turn. So in reality, we've come to the right conclusion through process of elimination, through discussion with you guys, right? So like I said, my anticipation was pre-flop perfect, flop perfect, turn, the computer's going to want us to check back. And this is basically absolute confirmation of that, right? We're denying our opponent the opportunity to do all that clever stuff. However, what's interesting here is how often is the player supposed to be shoving? Because I don't think it's that often. We saw pocket queens shove over our small bet. And I don't think that's a thing. All in on the turn after we bet small is 0%. 0%. So from a GTO perspective, there are no shoves on this turn, including queens, which is the hand that they turned up with. Now, again, what does that mean? I don't know. That does this. It's not up to us what our opponent does here, but it did feel to me as though the shove was an interesting choice. If you guys rewind the tape back, what I was trying to say was that I'm not sure if the shove makes sense unless you think maybe I'm just going to have a high, density of flush draws and you're trying to push those out. I think the majority of what we want to do is either call or small raise, and that's true here. So we've come to the right conclusion basically in the end, right, guys? So ultimately, the computer actually admits that betting small has some merit, but it's not probably enough to even be concerned about. And in hindsight, what we should have done was played our hand exactly the same way for all the reasons we described. However, on the turn, we should neglect our opponents the opportunity to outplay us, play it as a check, just try and get to showdown with what is actually a relatively strong holding where our opponent can be very polarized pre-flop, and then go from there. So good stuff, guys. And also, this is a pretty technical spot, so I'm pleased with this, and I'm glad that we're sort of guesstimating somewhere close to accuracy. I would argue as well that this is not a particularly esoteric spot. Like, once we end up getting this far into the hand, there's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts, but we're playing against a reg who's going to have a very good range. He's going to play the range well. And I do think that this is the kind of spot where probably you can win a lot more by playing these better on turns and rivers. And I do think that these kinds of spots probably have quite a lot of sort of heuristic learning about them that is not just arbitrary. This isn't just like I looked up that one particular spot and it was right on this occasion, and eventually I got the idea of it. I think that this is a spot where probably a lot of people are overfolding flop, for example, and then probably misplaying turn similarly to the way that I did, where they feel as though they need to start barreling, which again had merit, but probably mostly check. So that's a really good one. I'm really glad we covered that, and I'm glad that we were kind of along the right lines by the end. And yeah, this is... Okay, cool. This is the other one. So I've been working a lot more on single raise pots from the button, three-handed, which is already a very profitable position for us. It's my understanding that on these textures, particularly like Deuce 5X, we are supposed to probably have quite a lot of big betting. The reason for that is our opponents, when they defend the big blind, shouldn't have that many 5X or Deuce X, and all of their pairs, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, 7s, are supposed to be all in pre-flop, so they have no sets. And therefore, betting big on these textures is probably good. The issue that I have here is maybe I'm supposed to call the shove. So I bet big, they shoved. I actually think there's a chance I might have missed the call. Because when they do this, they will end up having 8-9, 6-8, 3-4 suited. So actually, my mistake here might not have been the big bet. It might have been the fold. Let me take a look at the spot anyway, because if the big bet's wrong in the first place, then I'm obviously just misplaying the flop. But let's take a look. Now I look at it, I think it's supposed to be big bet call. Yeah. Okay. Well, okay, we're coming to the right conclusion when it after the fact, at least. All right. So basically, raise. Oh, okay, cool. So basically, we've raised correctly. Of course, that's stupid. They call on the flop. We have selected the correct big bet size. We've sized correctly. Our mistake was folding to the shove, which actually, in hindsight, is really fucking stupid because of course you do. What am I talking about? I don't know why I folded that. That's weird. I was so caught up in the fact that I was trying to find the correct bet size that I forgot how to respond to the jam. But yeah, there you go. That's just a stupid mistake on my part. But happy to see that some of the additional stuff we're trying to employ is correct, and we're accurately applying that. This is just absolute idiocy, to be honest. 4 or 5, 6. There's already like more than $10 in the middle after we bet 3. We need to call off the rest, obviously, with 2 overcards, even if we are slightly behind here. But good. Anyway, we're still learning, and that's obviously now a good way to learn from it because I won't miss that spot again. But I've never bet 3 big blinds on a board like that before in my life. That's not something we've done, but we're actually finding the superior optimized size. I do actually think that in my brain, the larger size there is so punishing because if you do end up with a random bottom pair or middle pair there, it's so hard to respond. And, you know, what else are you going to do if you end up having a straight draw or something? You're just going to bang it in. So very good, very good. Great little wrap-up review session there, guys. Really pleased with that. And look, you know, the graph is going up faster. And the faster the graph goes up, the closer that we can get to profitability. And again, just to wrap things up, there you go. We are currently 4,086 games into the challenge. That is $40,860 gambled. Our chip EV is 14, but I'm absolutely certain that it's much higher. We just need more volume in order to build up out of our earlier bits here. And hopefully a little bit more green line like this. If we can catch up with expectation, there's a chance that we could win a few percent at the end of everything. With bonuses and all that. Don't forget that the number there is without rakeback. So we're only about $200 down overall on the challenge with rewards. So that's it for today, guys. That's a wrap for today. But tomorrow at 4 p.m. UK, we have another Spin and Go showdown. Tomorrow is going to be... Tomorrow is going to be Hampus versus Rory Jennings. So that'll be the first time that we work with Hampus. He's a casino streamer. If you guys don't follow him, go and give him a look. I think he said he's going to play some spins ahead of the showdown. So he's going to be warmed up. And also, you guys can check out what his stream looks like. It's going to be Hampus versus Rory at 4 p.m., 2-hour stream. And we're going to be doing the normal Spin and Go Showdown Season 2 rules. And we're going to put some numbers up on the leaderboard for those guys. And then also on Friday, we have another one of those, which I hope you guys will join us for. I think that means on Thursday we'll do another Spin and Go stream like this. This was really good, guys. It was nice to just one table with you for a while. I missed this. I've been playing a lot of volume off stream, obviously, because I'm trying to get through the challenge where I'm not getting enough stream time. But you guys can see we're working hard. We're getting through some volume. We're learning. We're becoming better players. And, yeah, hopefully a little bit of run good will grace us on the way to 5K. But, yeah. All right, love you guys very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Good luck at the tables if you're playing, and I'll see you guys tomorrow around 4 p.m. for more Spin and Go Showdown Madness with Hampus and Rory.